Welcome to Faith, Fiction, and Folklore, or as we like to call it, the Try-F Podcast, where we try not to F the podcast up. Oh, Trevor, it's been a week. Holy moly.
Well, you sound good.
I sound good? That's fantastic. I am very happy for that. Because we've had enough problems. So many. I'm smoking my favorite cigar.
Heck yeah.
Make sure I
What
say
kind
the
of
name
cigar
right.
is it?
LFD Andalusian Bull, I believe. Yeah, Andalusian Bull. I'm an idiot. Andalusian Bull. Great cigars. Love them.
Is that what we're going to talk about this week?
Oh, I wish.
Cigars?
I wish. No.
Maybe we should do one on just cigars. For 3 hours.
I don't know if that's on brand, but it would be nice. Yes, I would love to talk about cigars at some point.
We could do it.
I'm somebody who actually knows, though. Not me, because I just smoke them. So
I know a guy.
You know a guy?
I don't know him, but I'd like to get to know him.
You know of a guy.
I know of a guy.
All right, well, let's just get this done. Like, I've got a problem, Trevor.
No, you don't.
As I'm trying to introduce this show, because we're not a political show. I don't want this to be a political show. But I do want to talk about the Epstien files. I don't want to keep talking about the Epstien files. And today is a week where both those subjects inevitably intertwine. Intertwine. So have you heard about the spat between, Trump and Elon? The obvious spat.
Tell me what spat they had.
Oh, I will. But first, do you remember a couple weeks ago when we were listening to the Patrick Bet-David podcast, and we were talking about how Kash and Dan Bongino were acting strange? And then, let me see if I can get this. I'm going to get the tab pulled up before, because I'm setting this up in a very lame way. But then Patrick Bet-David said this, and I went off. So let's just replay what he had to say. Am I still on? Yes, I am. Good, because I don't want to be muted through
You're
this.
Still here.
This is important. Great. Okay, here we go. So this was what Patrick Bet-David said during that initial interview with that gal from Fox News.
Which gal?
About kids that are on camera.
The interviewee, the person they chose to tell the story. So let's just listen to Patrick Bet-David's words here, because I had a little rant after he said this, because it upset me. So anyway.
Getting raped, and they have it, and it's I am 1,000% against that, if that's the case.
There is a reason why.
Man.
When you choose to become the leader of the free world, there's only 46 people that have been able to do it. It's not a job for everybody, okay? Mm-hmm. When you get that job, it's very easy for everybody to act emotionally about everything. You're not cut out to be a president. You're too emotional to be a president. Make sense? The job isn't for everybody.
Are you talking to Vinny on that one?
I would be horrible.
No.
Vinny I love America, but I'd have a heart attack in 2 weeks.
Vinny is a guy you go to war and you say, go kill everybody. That's the bad guy. That's Vinny. Vinny will get the job
Guys,
done, right?
metaphorically speaking,
yeah,
of course.
of course. But all I'm saying is to be a president, it's kind of like this. How do you do with blood?
Meaning what?
Could you be a heart surgeon?
Yeah, for sure.
Are you a blood
Doesn't
or a
bother
creep?
you.
Blood doesn't bother me.
You can cut skin, open up, do
100%.
stuff. Doesn't do anything
Doesn't
for
do
you.
anything for me.
Do you remember when you were in boot camp and you had to give IV to somebody else?
Yeah.
Okay. How many people passed that when they had to give IVs?
A lot of people were just...
That would have been
Big
me.
guys would pass out. Like, you have to give IV to another guy.
Yeah.
There were linebackers that were passing out left and right. But what happened before they went in? Oh, it's going to do nothing for me, dog. I'm going to be the one to dog. I'm going to be a tough guy. And I was like,
That's
shit,
a no for me,
the
dog.
gangster just passed out.
Yeah.
What happened to the gangster? No. There is talking, and then there's you go in, and you see the blood, and the average person can't handle it, and then the surgeon just cuts, boom, boom, can you give me this? Boom, boom, boom. And so what happened today? So can you give me that? Boom. Can you take this heart over here, put it here, boom, okay, boom, let me see this, boom. Only 1% of people can do that job, less than 1%. To be a president, it's not 1%. It's less than 0.000000001% can do the job.
How many zeros was that? Anyway.
And to be able to do that job, you have to be able to see blood, chaos, travesty, nasty, bunch of stuff, and you not being emotional to go out and react like an emotional human being. It's not the job for everybody. I understand what you're saying. It's a very noble way of viewing it. I am right there with you. We're together when something happens with the kids. We react in the same exact way.
Yep.
But you lose the ability to react that way when you're the president. You have to be more intentional. I understand. No, less than 1% of people are going to agree with what I'm saying right now. Trust me. They're going to be like, this is the part that I'm going to side with Vinny. I get it. Me too. Even though I'm debating, I'm siding. Yeah. But you have to understand, this is a very, very difficult job. And there's some phases of this job that you have to be what? Do you know what it is? Do you know what is one of the most important qualities to be able to be the president of the free world?
Not level head.
You have to be ice cold.
That's what I was just going to say.
You have to be ice cold.
Measured's the word.
You have to be ice cold. Ice cold. To see what they did. They did that? Is this what they're doing? Okay, no problem. We'll never forget this. But let me tell you what we got going on. When is that event coming up? In 7 months. In 7 months, we're going to do this and put it in front of their faces so everybody sees it, but hang on till the 7 months. Hang on till the 7 months. That speech that Trump showed today in front of South Africa, yesterday he showed. How long?
All right, so they're moving on to South Africa. So I don't know if you recall that little statement, Trevor, but this prompted me to lose my ever-loving gourd.
Why?
Because what he's talking about is this. First of all, when people talk about this whole being willing to do whatever it takes, that's just code for doing whatever's expedient. Oh, we got to be cold. We got to be ice cold. We got to be ice cold through our... We got to be ice cold, have blood, ice blood in our veins or whatever. That's just code for being Machiavellian. And what does
Machiavellian mean?
It means being ice cold. It's basically doing things from a pragmatic standpoint, being utilitarian, being somebody who's not taking into consideration morality. Because you see, Trevor, morality is emotion.
That's hard to do.
Yeah, why would we listen to morality? Morality is rooted in emotion. No, there's not a moral principle about children's blood crying out from the ground or anything. You just want to help the kids because you're emotional. And so we talked about this being, and I said it a few weeks ago that this is absolutely nonsense because the thing that he's not even thinking about, even if morality doesn't mean anything to you, which it should, and I'm not saying it doesn't for Patrick Bet-David, but I wanted to take issue with this comment specifically because the thing that he is neglecting is that people who think like that are usually not half as smart as they think they are. Yeah, there's only been 46 people who were president of the United States. Most of them sucked anyway. None of them were even any good at it. All the ones, except for like a handful. So it's not saying that much just because these guys rose to the top because... Just because you rise to the top doesn't mean you're a good person necessarily. And what I say, and my
means you were good at telling people, "Hey, vote for me."
Yeah, you're good at a particular thing, but that doesn't mean you're good at it. You're good at getting elected. That doesn't mean you're good at running the country. But
exactly.
Yeah. But anyway, I also made the point that even if you are not all that interested in morality, from a pragmatic standpoint, the reason you don't do what is expedient is because morality serves as a bulwark. It forces you to stop and look at all the potential alternatives. And as an example, I cited the midterm elections. Patrick Bet-David was not bearing in mind how this stunt that Kash and Bongino did was going to affect the midterm elections. In other words, this isn't going anywhere because the whole Epstien thing isn't going anywhere because it hasn't went anywhere for 6 years. So why would it go anywhere now? Just because Trump's in charge? Just because it's our guy, so we're going to forget it? Anyway, my point in bringing up the midterms was there are these things called unintended consequences. The reason you don't act like a Machiavellian is because you are not smart enough to guess how all the pieces fall into place. And so it's better to default in morality. That way, when chaos occurs, at least you don't have to lie. So, you do the right thing to avoid unintended consequences. The midterms would have been an unintended consequence. And here is another example of an unintended consequence. Elon Musk, time to drop the really big bomb. At
Can you zoom in on that a little bit?
Maybe. Hang on here. I can't.
Sorry to bug you.
Well, now I just got rid of it.
My bad.
It's all right. Can I don't know. No, I can't double click on it. Sorry, this is as good as it's going to get. Time to drop the really big bomb. At real Donald Trump is in the Epstien files. That is the real reason they have not been made public. Have a nice day, DJT. So, that, Trevor, is called an unintended consequence. That is why you don't do whatever it takes, because doing whatever it takes, being the guy with ice water in your veins, is usually just polite, bold-sounding nomenclature for doing what's expedient. And when you do what's expedient, you don't think everything through. And I will say this, everybody's mad at Elon Musk right now, but the bitter truth of the matter is, if he hadn't done it, somebody else would have.
Yeah.
Because this was the question running through everybody's mind that nobody wanted to talk about. Why in the world would... Exactly. Why in the world would Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, and Dan Bongino do this complete 360? They've been pushing that they were going to release the Epstein files for forever, and now all of a sudden they don't want to. And they're practicing every deceptive tactic that we've seen every Democrat in the history of ever use, so they don't have to put out these files. Why would they do that? It's not 360, it's 180, by the way. Why would they do this 180? Why would they change their minds? Well, people have been wondering, although they'll never articulate it, is this why? Is Trump on there? Is he protecting himself? Elon Musk just said what everybody's been whispering to themselves but has been scared to say. Now, I'm not saying it's true. I don't know if Trump is. I have no clue one way or the other. But this is what people are asking, because this is exactly what people are going to be afraid of. Elon Musk is leaning into people's fears, regardless of whether Trump is actually on those things or not. This is why you don't do whatever it takes. Because crap like this always happens. It's called, some call it wrath, some call it karma, but the one thing you can't call it is surprising.
So here's a question for you. What if they're both on it?
Huh?
What if they're both on it?
I imagine there's a lot of people on it. I mean, Epstein's whole shtick was, blackmailing famous people. Now, it's one of two things. Either Trump, this is just my opinion, I don't know which one it is. I don't know if it's any. There's a lot of scenarios. Number one, this could just be that he's referencing what's already been out. Because Trump took a plane or something. I don't think it was the Lolita, but he took a plane with Epstein once or twice. There's already been information out since 2018, 2019 or so that he was involved in the Epstein files. Now, if Elon Musk is basically calling that all up just to get everybody riled up, that's not good. That's pretty sleazy. It's a bad thing to do.
Well, I mean, there's proof everywhere that they hung out, isn't there?
There's like one photo and then like the flight logs that I mentioned earlier. But a lot of people were on those planes. Again, it's a blackmail racket. So these guys would just, invite rich people at random. And Donald Trump probably went to some of those parties.
Yeah.
Now, if there's any more additional information that hasn't been addressed, if I were to guess, it's one of two scenarios, assuming that there is any new information at all, which I'm kind of dubious about, very skeptical of. I think Musk was just playing into people's fears, because this is what would ruminate in the back of people's minds, which is why I'm going after Patrick Bet-David. I like him, but that specific statement really set me off, because crap like that has consequences.
Yeah.
Sitting here and making these cold Machiavellian calculations, it sounds like you're super smart, but really you're just doing the quickest thing, the easiest thing. Yeah. So.
Hey, Jeremiah.
It's been a
Long
little bit.
time no see. If I drop a poop on an American Airlines flight, can I call it a flight log?
You can call it whatever your heart desires.
Is that a dad joke? Because it was a good one.
That was a dad joke, wasn't it? Not a bad one either. Good to see you, Jeremiah. So, yeah, basically, this has been on everybody's mind the entire time. But nobody was wanting to actually say it out loud. This is why what Kash and Dan did, or Dan Bongino did, was such a big deal. And sooner or later, somebody from the Trump administration was going to say this. But Mr. Captain Ice in his veins, Mr. Do whatever it takes, which is just code for doing whatever is expedient, isn't going to think about that. Because people who typically operate that way think everybody else around them is an idiot. And they don't realize that these kinds of decisions have ripple effects. And then things blow up. This is not going to go anywhere for a very long time. This actually, I would even go as far as to say, since I use the midterms as an example, this could cost Trump the midterms. I wouldn't be surprised. Like, I know people tend to think that everybody's got like the memory of a guppy, but Epstein's been around for 6 years. It's been a long time, 2018 or so, and it hasn't disappeared from the consciousness yet. What makes you think it's going to disappear now? And it certainly ain't going to disappear after Elon Musk made this statement, even if he did delete his tweets and all the rest of it. So,
this is going to be fun, huh?
Yeah. This by itself might have already cost him the midterm, although nobody's going to admit it. And I need to say something else because I guess I'm kind of going on a rant on this, but...
Rant away.
Well, I need to be very careful and kind of specific about my wording because this is going to be misunderstood as me complaining about Trump, but that's really not my point.
Oh.
This is me. What I'm trying to demonstrate is a general attitude that the culture has that I think is kind of in part leading to this situation. So the reason I bring up Patrick Bet David is because this whole ice water in your veins, do whatever it takes crap is how the CIA got to this place.
Right.
So there's a fella, I apologize, I'm blanking out on his name, but he was on Tucker Carlson a couple days ago, and he's been doing the podcast circuit recently. And he's talking about his time in the CIA. And he talked about how he would do this lecture with people, and he would ask the question, what if you had an informant who was a good informant and he was providing you accurate information, but then one day he comes up to you and says, all right, well, I've done a good job, but I think I'm done unless you get me a prostitute. I want a prostitute. Would you or would you not get him a prostitute for the good of the company, good of the country, Trevor?
Repeat the question. I'm sorry.
Okay. If you had an informant for the CIA, and this is I apologize for blanking out on the man's name. After I ask the question, you can think about it. I'll pull his name up. If you have an informant...
John Kiriakou?
I need to see who you're looking at, but I bet you're right.
I just went to Tucker's channel.
Is he a...
It was 3 days ago, CIA's secret torture programs, MK Ultra.
Yep, that video. So, say his name again.
John Kiriakou.
Sweet. Yep, that's the guy. Okay, so he posed this question to people. If you have a good informant who has given you solid information, but he comes up to you one day and he's like, I'm done giving you info. I'm finished. I'm not going to do anything else unless you get me a prostitute. I want a prostitute. Get me a prostitute. Would you or would you not get that man a prostitute for the good of the country?
No, I'd say, well, bye.
Yeah. According to him, about 80% of people in the audience would raise their hand. Right? Then he adds this next caveat. He says, now what if it's a kid? And then about 10% would raise their hand. And then he would go, no.
What if who was a kid?
The guy wants a child prostitute. Yeah.
Well, heck no.
And think about that. Think about that. He said 10% of the people would still raise their hand. Timidly, but they'd still raise their hand.
Because they don't care.
No. Why? Because of what Patrick Bet-David said. You gotta have ice water in your veins, Trevor. You gotta do whatever it takes.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. And this is why you draw the hard line at the prostitute. This is why you do the right thing and you don't think about the consequences. Because what starts out with just getting a prostitute for the good of the country ends up getting a child prostitute for the good of the country.
And so on and so forth.
And so on and so forth. That's how we got here. That kind of thinking is how we got here. And that's my point.
Jeremiah said, I tend to believe that the files,
Yeah.
implicate key figures in both parties. Two wings of the same bird, and that's why the files aren't coming out. It would kill the whole bird.
Yeah, I agree. I think you're right. My opinion is justice be done, may the heavens fall. But Patrick Bet-David's mind about it was they're basically using the information on those files as leverage to get kind of what they want in Congress or something. Can't be Congress, though. Not, I said that randomly, but can't be Congress because that big, beautiful bill is another one of Washington's darling compromises. But that's not relevant to the Epstien files necessarily, so we won't go there. But I wanted to... Well, it's more politics, basically, and...
Let's not go there.
Yeah, it's not related to the Epstein files. I wanted to talk about specifically how you get a whole country to the point, because basically what's going on, and Alex Jones kind of confirmed this week, which we already kind of knew it anyway, but his inside sources confirmed it, you might say. CIA was running a sex operation. Basically, your taxpayer dollars have been going to child trafficking. That's what's happening. It's a blackmail racket, and they're child trafficking, and you're paying for it. Congratulations. So...
No, you're paying for it.
Yeah, we're all paying for it, yeah. And so that destroys the trust in the FBI, as Dan Bongino says. They got to restore trust in the FBI.
Or any three-letter organization.
Or any three-letter word in an organization. Yeah, we got to restore trust in the institutions. Robert Barnes said this. I think it's just a brilliant way to summarize it. It's like Kash and Dan, and it's not that, I don't think that it's because Trump is on here, really. I think, like I said, Elon Musk knows that's what people are thinking, and so he said it out loud, which again, I will repeat it again for emphasis. This is why you don't do whatever it takes, because unintended consequences. And you're not smart enough to predict the ripple effect, so you may as well do the right thing so when the chaos comes, you don't have to worry about covering your butt. Anyway, so what was I saying?
And then they work really hard to stop the ripples.
Yeah. Well, it's like, well, Good Night VeggieTales taught this. You tell one lie, then you got to, you got to cover for the next lie, then cover for the next lie, then cover for the next lie. I mean, it's a story as old as time.
Yeah.
You know. All right, where was I? I lost my train of thought. Yeah, so that's my point with the whole do whatever it takes thing. It's a bad mentality. And, oh yeah, Kash and Dan, I don't think are covering everything because Trump's on there. I think what's going on is that there is a philosophy. They're institutionalists, meaning that they want to, as Dan Bongino and Kash Patel have said over and over and over and over and over again, they want to restore trust in the FBI. They want to restore the institution. We need people who are willing to burn all that crap down if you're even going to try to save that crap. You got to be willing to kill it to save it. If you're a doctor, you got to be willing to cause pain. But anyway, my point is, the right thing to do is not on that's not on these people's radar. No. What's on their radar is you got to do whatever it takes to protect the institution.
Yeah.
You understand? To protect the institution, we have to make these little moral compromises. Because it's not like the plebs can do anything about it until a billionaire turns around and makes an accusation he knows the plebs are scared of. unintended consequences. That's why
Yeah.
you don't do what's expedient. As for the Elon Musk Trump thing, I don't want to talk about it too much because, again, it's politics, but I did put it on the thumbnail because the kaiju meme was funny. I wanted to do a kaiju meme. I thought it was funny. Anyway.
Godzilla.
This is another thing that kind of ties back into, this is what I was going to say whenever I was saying it's going to sound like I'm complaining about Trump. I'm not. This is about an attitude that people have. So I'm not complaining about Trump. I'm complaining about everybody except Trump, actually. Jeremiah Cook says, restore trust in an agency that never had the plebs trust, LOL. More gaslighting from the alphabet boys. I agree.
I agree.
You know, but I think it's a boomer mentality. It's just this idea that, you know, somehow institutions thwart human nature.
Yeah.
And if you just get the proper training and the proper repetition, then people won't act like, you know, degenerates. But anyway, so what I was talking about with, gosh dang. Oh, if it sounded like I'm going to complain about Trump, but I'm not. I've been seeing this kind of trend that Trump is being a Chad. He is being a bigger man. He's this, he's that. Like, he's doing all this wonderful stuff. Because basically what he did is he first of all, he lied and said, because it was a lie. It's just a lie. He said, oh, well, Elon Musk is just mad because of the AV thing. Bull. Everybody knew Trump was going to get rid of the AV mandate since before the election. That is a load of bullcrap. Elon Musk knew, everybody knew. That is not a surprise to anybody. He is not upset about that. He's full of it.
That was supposed to last, like, a couple months, right?
The AV mandate?
Something like that, yeah.
No, they were going to require everybody to buy electric vehicles.
Oh.
And obviously Musk, being in the electric car business, was going to benefit from that. So Trump's implication was that Musk was just mad that he lost a bunch of money over the electric vehicle mandate. So I guess it's not AV, it's EV. But anyway.
I don't know if he actually cares about all of that money.
Musk? No, because the dude's lost billions. Like, have you seen his Tesla stock? It's tanked. It was tanking before he went after Trump.
Tanking, yeah.
I don't think of losing a business deal is actually the guy's goal. And again, everybody's known that since November. Like, that's not a shock. Trump said he was going to do that from the beginning. Like, I doubt I doubt Musk was taken by surprise by that. So he lied about what the fight was. I don't know what the fight was. I'm not going to pretend that I know what the fight was. But, so he lies about that, and then he agrees to have this phone call with Elon Musk. And then today, he's like, well, I'm not going to call him. I'm not really thinking about Elon. Elon's not even on my mind. And I'm like...
Bullcrap.
Yeah, bullcrap. What that means is that he's stroking Elon Musk's photo while listening to Billy Joel. That's what that means.
Ew.
Yeah. But what was crazy is that people were like, oh, Trump's being the bigger man. He's being the bigger man. He's a Chad. Trump is a Chad.
How is
I'm
being
like,
Chad
really?
being the bigger man?
Yeah, I'm like, really? Avoiding somebody's phone call and saying you're not even thinking of them? When I was growing up, that was called being a high school girl. What the heck is masculine about that? Now, is he upset? Sure. Does he have the right to be upset? Sure. But don't sit there and say he's being a Chad and the bigger man and this is some sort of alpha man play. This is called being a petulant human because all humans are stupid. We don't need to celebrate it.
Gaslighting.
Yeah, gaslighting. I mean, I think some of the Trump's fans are just sycophants.
Oh, they are.
Yeah, they're just, Trump's done a lot of good things. He's not a bad president, and he's certainly trying to fix all this crap. But he's still a human. And I'm sorry, saying you're going to answer somebody's call and have a peace call with somebody, then ignoring the call and saying, well, I'll probably talk to him eventually. I don't even think about Elon. I wish his company well. That's not being the bigger man. That's called being a high school girl. Okay, that's called I'm mad at you, I don't want to talk to you, and I'm going to pout to teach you a lesson. I'm going to give you the silent treatment to teach you a lesson. Now, Did Elon Musk screw up? Yeah, it was probably, especially if he lied. I don't know if this is true or not, but if he lied, this was a horrible thing to say. And it's bad because he was right to complain about the big, beautiful bill, which is another lie. It's just a big, beautiful spending bill, but, whatever. So if he went too far, if this isn't true and Musk is lying, yeah, that's horrible. He shouldn't have done that. And maybe he's on ketamine. I don't know.
But it's the truth.
I kind of suspect they're saying he's on ketamine, though, as like a PR tactic. Oh,
What is ketamine?
It's a drug. It's like, no, he's autistic. But they're going to sit there and take his twitches and weird behavior and say, oh, he's not right in the head. Because that is gaslighting, by the way. It's like, oh, he's not right in the head. He must be on the drugs. He's got to be on the dope. The ketamine must have wore off. That's a PR thing.
Well, who's not on the drugs?
True or
these
false,
days?
it's a PR thing. Yeah, everybody's on a drug of some sort. Everybody's on a drug. Anyway, so it's people being people. Trump is a human. He has a right to be mad, especially if it isn't true. But can we not call him a Chad? Like, do we have to absolutely celebrate this crap? It's just nonsense.
Cody, hi.
Hi, Cody.
Welcome in. You're right, Gary. It's boomer mentality. They all had nice jobs with pensions. The big agencies in their minds are actually there to protect them, and they've actually gone through their working years being protected by their jobs or unions.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
And then Jeremiah said Trump should have just released one White House statement on Elon and gotten right back to work. It's like Jim Halpert refusing to stop being a jackass even after becoming manager.
I agree. I think he should have just said one thing and been done with it.
Yep.
They could deal with it in private. This doesn't need to be in public anyway. So there's no purpose for it. This is just PR and pressure. And it's my wife was calling it White House High the other day. It's like on another very special episode of White House High. Big, beautiful bill becomes between Trump and Elon Musk. What's going to happen? Will their relationship survive? Find out on another episode of White House High. For those of you who don't get the reference, that's a Clone High reference, which is a hilarious show out of Canada years ago. But anyway, so
We should make that show.
White House High, yeah.
We should do it.
But that's what it is. It shouldn't be celebrated. So, with all that said, we're going to move on.
I'm going to
Celebrate. I don't know what you mean. But with all that said, we're going to end this episode. But we're not technically done because there was another little development that happened immediately after Trump gave old Elon Musk the silent treatment. The oh so masculine and Chad silent treatment.
What happened?
Well, let's wrap this episode up, and then we'll go on to episode 2, and
I'm
we'll
excited.
talk about it then. So, guys, if you're still on the live stream, stay with us. If you're watching this after the fact, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.
Thank you.
Now, on to part 2. I guess I'll
PT2.
sign us in. Welcome to Faith, Fiction, and Folklore, as we like to call it, the Tri-F podcast, where we try not to F the podcast up. And we're continuing our conversation.
Wait, I'd like to F the podcast up.
You always do. I'm joking.
Exactly.
Anyway, so, because F means for fun, you make the podcast fun. Anyway.
No, I don't.
Okay, yes you do. Stop it. Okay,
Okay,
back to what
joke
we're
it.
talking about. So, we're continuing our conversation about,
okay.
which is really just me yelling. We're calling that a conversation. Anyway.
I like your conversations.
Well, thank you. Somebody has to. Anyway. Yeah, Cody's laughing because he knows it's true. Thank you. So, anyway, we're continuing our conversation about Trump and Elon's tiff. So,
Which
they were
two?
the most recent tiff. So, after Trump was like, I'm not even going to call Elon. He's not even on my mind. I don't need him. You know, the totally masculine silent treatment. Kash Patel comes out with an interview with Joe Rogan. And I should point out that Elon Musk's dramatic tweet about Trump being in the Epstein files happened right as the interview was taking place. So in the middle of Joe Rogan's interview with Kash Patel, Elon Musk sends this tweet. Boys and girls, that's called providence, a concept we don't talk about anymore. So providence would have it that Elon Musk drops this tweet, and Kash's reaction is just amazing. But I want to point out, not genuine. It's unless you count oh crap, genuine. If you count that as genuine, then yes, it was genuine. Anyway, so I do want to point out though that if any other person on the planet had refused to talk to their opposition after a tweet like that and said, I don't really need to talk to him. I don't even think about Elon Musk. He's not worth my time. If anybody else had done that, they would have been called a coward. And then they would be laughing their butts off because this tweet comes up right in the middle of Rogan's interview with the head of the FBI. So if it had been anybody else, if it had been Hillary Clinton, they would have been a chicken. But since it's Donald Trump, he's a Chad. He's a Chad because he's just being stoic and the bigger man. Yeah, he's not being a high school girl or a chicken or anything. He's being the bigger man. This isn't petty. It's not petty at all. Anyway, so let's look at what Kash Patel had to say to Joe Rogan because the situation has not gotten any better. And I swear, Dan Bongino and Kash Patel, it's like they have this, ever since they've been mocked and made fun of, they've gotten angry, and they've kind of just been looking at everybody going, I'll show me. And they just keep doing worse stuff to destroy themselves. And it's like, guys, there was a time when I liked you. Can you stop? Can you stop doing this? This is like a slow-moving car wreck. Can you stop? And it's like, watch me punch myself in the face and blame you for it. It's just been awful. Anyway, sorry, you're going to say something.
It's like looking in the mirror and going after a pimple that won't stop bleeding.
Yeah, it's like digging a hole, only it's in your face. So
and you're just making the scar worse.
Yeah. Yeah, so they're just making their situation worse. In this Rogan interview, we're probably going to get copyrighted, but I don't care. I'll do my best to jump around so we don't get copyrighted, but
I could always tell dad jokes in the middle of
Oh, please don't. Please don't. But I wanted to, there's so many things that Kash Patel does in this interview that I wanted to talk about it in extreme detail because this is going to be an object lesson in gaslighting. I don't know what else to say. So, anyway, let's begin.
Let's just get to it because I know it's on people's minds. Epstein,
yes, let's
right?
get to it. Yep.
The reason people are pissed off about that is the same thing, right? 20 years ago or whenever it was, 2006, 7, 8, Epstein gets his sweetheart plea deal, right?
Right.
After committing the most horrific crimes on planet Earth, right? I wasn't in power there. I wasn't in place there. I had, nothing to do with it. But people were rightfully pissed. I mean, this guy was committing the most grotesque acts you can against children.
All right, Trevor, you want to read Jeremiah's thing?
Jeremiah said, imagine Trump sipping a Coke, watching Elon leave the White House lawn. Sad day, says Trump. It was necessary, darling, says Melania. The accent. Sorry, I should have done the accent, even though I don't know what she sounds like.
Sad day. I can't do Melania's accent, but I'll do Trump. Sad day, sad day. I wish I was good at meme making because I would have that picture of Wolverine stroking that picture of Jean Grey, only be Trump and Elon. It'd be great. Too bad I'm not talented. So, anyway.
You are talented. You could do it.
Oh, it'd take me like half an hour, but thank you. All right, let's go on here.
And the media spins up about it. Many in the media protected him. Why? Because of his relationships, who he knew, who his bankers were, who his colleagues were, who was on the island and stuff like that. Some pretty powerful human beings. And so when you peel back the layer and then what happened? The Trump administration, the last go around, decided, no, we're not going to let that go. We're going to investigate him, right? They charge him, they indict him, and he's awaiting trial. And I've said it, Dan Bongino said it, we've reviewed all the information, and the American public is going to get as much as we can release.
All right. let's just pause and marinate on that term. As much as
Marinara.
we can release. Let me say it again. As much as we can release. Aren't you the boss?
Is he the boss?
Yes, this is the head of the FBI. Who's limiting you? Is it Pam Bondi? Is it Trump? Is it the CIA?
It's
I
probably
thought you
Hillary
were
in
in
an
charge
email.
of this crap. What do you mean? As much as we can release. And I just want to point out, we didn't have time to go through all the other videos, but if you have been keeping track of this throughout the week, you'll notice that when Dan Bongino first came out with this stuff, actually, let's go back further back. Pam Bondi's like, oh, you're going to get all the videos. We're going to show you everything. You're going to get all the stuff, but we've got to protect the victims. Kind of implying that they're going to blur out the faces of the victims or something, but you're going to see all the bad guys. That's not what they were planning on doing. But anyway, so we got that still, that vain promise still hovering in the background. But when Bongino comes out to prove that Epstein has killed himself, what he says in the beginning is, we're going to show you people, we're going to give you a video that's in HD and edited so you see the best quality, you can see everything you possibly can, and then we're going to show you the unedited version so you don't think we monkeyed with it. And then it was...
We haven't even seen anything, have we?
Oh, we haven't seen anything. We haven't seen a dad blame thing. Not a thing. They told us there was a video a week ago. We haven't seen a thing. Apparently, it takes a week with the entire apparatus of the FBI to put
They
out
can make
this
a movie faster than
super
that, can't they?
Yeah, now, probably.
Jeremiah Cook said, Pam Bondage got that boy locked up. That's why he looks so scared at the point he's paused at. Oh, LOL.
Every one
Yeah.
of his interviews looks like a hostage video. That's true.
Yep.
So, anyway...
Bondage.
So we start out with, oh, you're going to get 2 copies of the video. Then it became, well, you know, we've got to make sure that it's the right, we got to make sure that we send the right message, the right narrative. We got to make sure that the people don't get the wrong idea. We got to send basically an edited version of the video so people get all the relevant information. And then it was, well, you're going to get a clip. You're going to get a clip of the hallway, and it's going to be sped up. So you see nobody went in and out of the hallway or whatever. So he's the only one in the cell. But you're going to get a clip now. It became a clip. And then
Thank you, Jess.
it became, we're going to give you what we're allowed to give you. Boys and girls, that is called moving the goalpost. Just a smidge. Just a smidge. Thank you, Jess. I appreciate it. So, I just wanted to marinate on the fact that they just keep moving the goalposts, which means you ain't getting to see crap. Probably. I'll be shocked if we get anything at all.
We might have to go in there and do another January 6th type deal.
Yeah, you're gonna have to fire these 2 and basically raid it to get it to the public. But anyway.
He killed himself. Do you think, let's play out the logical
you just said it
conclusion
right
of this.
there.
Do you think that myself, Bongino, and others would
Shout to
participate in hiding information about Epstein's grotesque activities? Or do you think we would also participate in not prosecuting people we had evidence to prosecute people on? But the problem is there's been...
Yes. The correct answer is
Prosecute
yes.
away.
I absolutely would think that. Yes. Why? Because you're the Fed and you keep talking about protecting the reputation of the Fed. Cody Bocephus says, Trevor, the Feds did January 6th. That is quite correct,
Feds.
sir. That is quite
And,
correct. Which is why we're never getting those files either, in all probability. I would be shocked. Where are they? I mean, come on. Tucker Carlson's already put out half of them. Where's the rest of them? What's taking so long? Well, we're going to do it. We're going to get to it eventually. We'll get there. We'll get there, I'm sure. Yeah.
Their week's not up yet.
Yeah, but I just want to sit there and go, what, me? You think me? The man who's been on your side for all these years? You think I would cover anything up? Me? Yes. Yes, I would. Because you look like a deer in the headlights every time you talk because you suck at lying.
They suck at their own job.
I guess that is the job. I don't know. Like this, it's just... I like what Alex Jones said, and I'm sure I've brought this up before, but it's like, it really is endearing to watch these two try to lie. It's very evident they've never done it before and they suck. Like, it's a little cute. Like, I do agree with that.
Like 15 years of people coming in and creating fictions about this that doesn't exist. Where's the videotape of an Epstein Island of X, Y,
Yeah, you know what the main fiction was? He killed himself.
and Z committing these frauds? Why haven't you given it to us? Do you really think I wouldn't give that to you
Yes.
if it existed?
Yes.
I'm working my ass off along with the leadership at the Bureau and
On everything. You're working your ass off on cocaine in the White House. Because we totally care about that.
DOJ to get you what we're allowed to give you.
Who? Are you or are you not in charge? What were you hired for?
Maybe we should
Am
get
I
him
wrong?
on
Okay, if
our show
somebody's
so
listening
you
in the
can
chat,
ask him.
please correct me if I'm wrong. Is Pam Bondi actually over him or not? I'm not entirely sure how that whole ranking system works. I was under the impression that the FBI, the CIA, and the NSA, they were tied to the Department of Justice, but they're kind of their own thing. But maybe she is his head, and maybe she's the one telling them not to release anything. It could be her. Like, everybody's kind of smelled that she's the bad actor from the beginning. And like, if you go back to her Senate confirmation hearing, I thought she was just a little too familiar with the liberal nomenclature. I mean, I've been worried about her from day one. And, well, not just the nomenclature thing with the way she was in the Senate, but also the fact that she was immediately picked after they got rid of Matt Gaetz. Like, what happened to Matt Gaetz was a hit, and then she was immediately thrown in there to fill the void. That by itself made me suspect her, but anyway.
What's her name?
Pam Bondi.
Oh,
Pam Bondi.
Bondage.
That is not the correct term.
I am not going to look up bondage.
We're on the Fed's radar, so you better not. You'll end up in jail.
What am I looking up? Oh yeah, hierarchy.
Is the the head of the Department of Justice over the FBI?
Oh.
Jeremiah Cook says, Pam Anacondi. You could probably get away with that. Are you having a hard time getting an answer? While you're looking.
I'm typing one-handed.
Oh, well, while you're looking, let's let Kash Patel keep digging his hole.
you're going to get the video of the cell, and you're going to see for yourself. And we will never be able to convince everyone.
Is it the cell or is it the hallway? Do we get to watch him hang himself? Is that what you're implying, sir? Because I was under the impression that it was the hallway and all you saw going in was the guards, which is ridiculous because if he was murdered, choked to death or whatever, then and you only see guards coming in, then obviously you would infer that the guards killed him. But no, even though it was just the guards. And again, this goes back to what I was talking about in the first episode. These people think that the FBI is so freaking sacred that it's supposed to be a shock if someone paid off a guard to kill the guy. Well, it's just the guards going in and out. He had to have killed himself. Really? There couldn't have been some agent disguised as a guard. They couldn't have paid off a guard. They couldn't have done any number of things that the CIA's done a million times. No, you guys just do your job so well. There's never any mistakes ever. It's just a video of a hallway. That proves empirically that Epstein killed himself because our guards would never do anything wrong. What about the two that fell asleep the night he was murdered? Shut up.
Okay, let's get into that. So, what did you think before you got in office? Did you think that Epstein was murdered?
Start losing weight with LifeMD's prescription GLP-1 weight management program. With at-home virtual doctor.
No
He's lying.
So the answer is yes.
Okay, so she is. So
The Department of Justice is responsible for the FBI to the Attorney General.
Okay, so it's either.
And the FBI reports its findings to U.S. attorneys across the country.
So we could safely say that Pam Bondi might be the bottleneck here, and she's not letting them release the stuff.
What a bottlenecker. She's probably just one of those people that drives in the left lane as slow as she can.
Pam Bondi's the one who drives in the left lane.
That's a bottlenecker, isn't it?
Yeah, you could say that. You could say that. Hey, how did that law about making it illegal to drive in the right lane fix that problem? It didn't fix it at all. You Oklahomans are chumps. And speaking of laws, did y'all hear they banned Cornhub in Oklahoma? I haven't tried to look for smut on the internet in several years, but I heard the statewide block when you try to get on the hub. Amazing. It'll be back in a week. But you can dream.
That's interesting. I'll have to look that up.
That is interesting. I'm immediately suspicious of it, but that is interesting. Maybe it'll stick. Who knows?
What's the website? Cornhub?
Yes, Cornhub. That is the website. Simply Cornhub.
Is that where you look up corn for fun?
You know, them people in Illinois, we don't judge them. So, anyway. All right, let's keep watching Cash.
Fishing at all of it?
But I have a different background, right?
Right.
So I was a public defender back in the day. I used to spend a lot of time in jails and a lot of time in segregated housing units, SHUs as we call them, right? And so, and I've known people that have committed suicide in these cells. And I know how you get in, how you get out, who works the system. And so the way, based on public information at the time, that he ended up, the pictures and him hanging himself, I was like, man, that guy killed himself. There's just no way that you could have run an op and had people go into that cell and not have any video of it and not have any people come out and say, hey, yeah, I saw that guy. He shouldn't have been there, the guard or this guy. There's just no access points into places like this in the detention center he was in, which I've been in.
So correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, you know, I'm sure it's equally impossible for prisoners to escape from jails, too. They're just so, they're just locked so tight. Ask the devil in the Ozarks. Yeah, that crazy guy running around. People never escape from prisons, ever.
Well, the easiest way possible to do that type of something would be simply to pay the right people at the right time.
Yeah. And what did Jeffrey Epstein have? Oh, that's right. He had money. He had so much money. And it was your money because it was tax money. Congratulations. Anyway.
But what I was told, what I'd read, was that the guards were not paying attention or were sleeping.
Well,
right?
And in short order, you'll see it.
Is that correct?
Well, it's hard to surmise that from a video, right? Like,
right.
Where they and look, do guards
Hey, guard, here is $1 million. Fall asleep at this time.
Mm-hmm.
Easy.
Yeah.
Or better yet, here's $1 million and or we're going to do such and such to said family member.
Mm-hmm. Carrot and the stick. You can have $1 million or a dead wife. Your choice.
Off on the night shift, but no one can get in to the cell, and if they had gotten in to the cell, you would see it.
But we were told that the cameras were down.
Well, I don't know who said that.
But he's lying because I watched his interview with Glenn Beck. I know he's lying. He was one of the guys screaming his heads off about this. But we need to get to the bottom of what happened. Blah, 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 blah. Oh, now he's never heard of it. He's never heard that the guards fell asleep, Trevor.
It sounds like to me.
He never heard of it before.
At this point, he was in on it and he's just trying to cover his own ass.
We'll get to something interesting he says later in this video. I don't know how far we're going to get, but he lets something slip.
Oops.
And I'm a little interested. I'm not going to be too declarative about what it means, but the slip might have been Freudian in nature. Anyway, we'll just keep going for now.
That was
Freudian?
in the news.
We're giving.
Huh?
What is Freudian?
Freudian? Okay, so a Freudian slip is basically like when you accidentally say your intentions or your motives or some detail you didn't want to let out.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, it's
okay.
like you let something slip you didn't mean to let slip. So, but it's
I
like
do that
what
all
you
the
truly
time.
think, what you truly believe. So, yep. All right.
All the footage we have.
So why wasn't that released like immediately? Why did this speculation escalate?
I think you'd have to ask whoever
Ask
the Attorney
someone
General
else.
back then was, Bill Barr.
Did you ever
Straight up
see?
lie. Ask somebody else. I'm lying.
Ask somebody else. It took me a second. You're right. Yeah. I don't know. Ask Bill Barr. But he's going to sit there and say that, yeah. Actually, he's about to transition into something else I wanted to yell about. I've got so much to yell about tonight.
He's a yeller.
Do you remember
He's a
that
yeller.
HBO autopsy show? Dr. Michael Baden. He's a famous forensic
I don't think I've seen
scientist. So he's a pathologist, and he reviewed the case, and it was his determination that it was a homicide because of the way his neck was broken. And what he said was it was indicative of a ligature strangulation. And it was because of the positioning on the neck where the marks were, that it wasn't indicative of someone hanging by their weight, which had been higher on the chin. And there's a specific break of the bones and the vertebrae that's consistent with someone who is just strangled to death.
I haven't seen it. I'll definitely take a look at it.
Bull. Actually, let's give him the benefit of the doubt because he acted like he was up to speed on all of this whenever Beck asked him about it. So we've got one of two scenarios, Trevor. Either he didn't know anything about it, and on Kash didn't know anything about the autopsy report because that's what Joe Rogan was referring to, the autopsy report. He didn't know anything about this report. And when he was on Glenn Beck, he was just campaigning for the FBI position. And he was going, oh, yeah, those Epstien files, we're gonna get to the bottom of that. Something should be done, Dad, blame it. So either he was doing that, or he knows about it, or he knew about it, and he's lying. Either way, he's a liar, though. Either way you spin it. Either he was just bullcrapping the public so he could get the position he wanted, or he's bullcrapping now, and he knew about this autopsy report, but he was just going to pretend like it didn't exist. I guarantee you, it is next to impossible for both Dan Bongino and Kash Patel to be unaware of the autopsy report and the fact that the guards fell asleep. You would have had to. You would
That's
have had
their
to have
job,
had.
isn't it?
Yeah, you would have had to have
To
your
be
hole in the
aware.
sand to sit there and not know that, and then you have
Wait,
to have
wait,
like
wait.
your head in the
Say that
sand.
again.
Sorry, hole in the sand. Just kill me. The yelling. There's no oxygen going to my brain at this point. Between the nicotine and the yelling, I'm strangling myself. Yeah. Musfaba. Anyway, so either he stuck his head, either Dan and Kash stuck their heads in the sand while still having the gall to scream about Epstein, or they did know about it and they're lying now because who knows why. I don't know why in the world they would think. The internet is a thing. I don't know why they would think they could get away with this.
They got that raise.
Just
they always
go
wanted.
back and watch the Glenn Beck interview with Kash Patel. Like, this is, like, I guess it is gaslighting because this is so flippin' absurd. Anyway.
At it because that's part of my job.
You
But-
haven't seen that?
The report on
Yeah.
that? No, I haven't looked at that.
Did you see
And you can tell Rogan doesn't believe him.
any? Was there any other autopsy done other than the official one?
This is the evolution of Carrie.
Hey, Trevor, it's an ad.
Let's
Don't
see
you like
how it
ads?
redefines your
How loud they
essentials.
are?
Elegantly minimal.
Cody, buy me that gun.
Incredibly
Not to my knowledge, but if there was, you'll get it. And that's what we're doing.
See if you can find that Dr. Michael Baden thing.
Yeah. No,
Did you
I-
remember that show, the HBO show?
No.
Pretty cool show.
Yeah.
So this guy, Dr. Michael Baden, he had a long career of catching murderers, exhuming bodies, finding trace amounts of poisons, different kinds of things. And it was a crazy show, like all these wild ways. That
Well, I
people-
love watching shows, and I spend a lot of time on planes. So.
Yeah, it was an old show. It was a
Okay.
show like from the early 2000s, I believe. But this guy was like, this very well-respected forensic scientist who would analyze these bodies, and it was his determination that he was murdered.
Yeah. And my job, going back to the core of what I've been doing since I studied Russiagate, was to get, and
Right.
is to get everybody the information.
When did you get here? Epstein's autopsy points to homicide. Pathologist hired by brother claims. New York City medical examiner strongly disputed the claim that the evidence from the autopsy suggested strangulation. So let's go to by the way, this is the New York Times, and they never lie. The private pathologist, Dr. Michael Baden, said in the morning TV show Fox and Friends, Mr. Epstein experienced a number of injuries, among them a broken bone in his neck, that are extremely unusual in suicidal hangings and could occur much more commonly in homicidal strangulation. I think the evidence points to homicide rather than suicide, said Dr. Baden, who observed the autopsy done by city officials. Dr. Baden, a former New York City medical examiner and a Fox News contributor, said, I have not seen in 50 years where that occurred in suicidal hanging case. Findings by Dr. Baden were strongly disputed by the city's chief medical examiner, Dr. Barbara Sampson, who previously ruled that Mr. Epstein's death on August 10th in the Metropolitan Correctional Center was a suicide. I stand firmly behind our determination of the cause and manner of death in this case, Dr. Sampson said in the interview on Wednesday. She added, in general, fractures of the hyoid bone and cartilage can be seen in suicides and homicides. The hyoid bone is near the Adam's apple. Dr. Sampson also dismissed Dr. Baden's contention that the circumstances around Mr. Epstein's death suggested other people may have been involved. She said her office had done a complete investigation, taking into consideration information gathered by law enforcement in making the determination.
So this is a perfect example of going back to my public defender and prosecutor days. This is what we call a war of experts. You can always find someone to come in and say the opposite.
Right.
And I used to do it all the time. I mean, I represented some of the worst humans that you can possibly imagine on earth. Literally. The guys that were trafficking children from Mexico into America. And you could put up a professional expert to say, and this is what's going to go on forever. And my job is not the forever. My job is to get you absolutely everything that we can give you. And that's what we're going to do.
When did you become aware of this?
All right, I want to listen to that again. I want you to hear what he said. Like, you may have missed it because you were zoning out. I would be tempted to zone out too. But let's just, I think I did there for a second because I've already heard this, but let's just listen to it one more time.
A war of experts. You can always find someone to come in and say the opposite.
Right.
And I used to do it all the time. I mean, I represented some of the worst humans that you can possibly imagine on earth. Literally. The guys that were trafficking children from Mexico into America. And you could put up a professional expert to say, and this is what's going to go on forever.
Wait, so he was a defense for human traffickers.
Child traffickers.
And now he's defending another one.
That he knew were guilty. And in order to help defend people that he knew were guilty, he would put up experts to lie on their behalf. That's what he just said. Maybe he misspoke.
Oh, is
if
that
you
that
want
one
to
word
believe
thing?
that. That's
that
called
thing slipped?
a Freudian slip. So just think about
Hello.
that. Just marinate on that. Maybe he misspoke. Maybe Kash Patel is on the up and up and he's a really good guy. But let me ask you this. If Hillary Clinton had said that, if somebody on the other side had said
She'd be
something
in
like
jail.
that,
They'd
would
be in
you
jail.
believe that Hillary Clinton just misspoke and was clunky in her wording? Would you give her the benefit of the doubt that you're trying to give him? Because
No,
what
it
I
wasn't
heard
in her
is
email.
these were terrible people. I knew they were terrible people. And to defend them, these were people who weren't just terrible people, who trafficked children. To defend people who trafficked children, I would appeal to experts to lie on their behalf. That's what I heard. It is at 7:35 right now. It probably starts around 7:19, 7:16. If you don't believe me, go back and listen to it. And just as a question, just as a hypothetical, why do you think he brought up the example of child predators as some of the group he defended whenever he's talking about the war of experts?
I don't know.
Could it be possibly that it's because Jeffrey Epstein was trafficking children and that's what's at the top of his mind, so he said it? If I'm wrong, would you give Hillary Clinton the same benefit of the doubt?
No.
Yeah, most people wouldn't. So you've got somebody who defended child traffickers telling you he doesn't know what in the world happened. Epstein killed himself. Now, I don't know a whole lot else about the man. I know that he wrote Government Gangsters, and I was very happy with him about Russiagate. And I don't know what his entire background is. But I can tell you that if it had been anybody else in the political sphere, since I have been listening to politics since the bombing of the USS Cole, I'm not completely ignorant about how this goes. I can tell you that had it been anybody else saying something like that, people would be raising eyebrows.
Well, I'm raising my eyebrows, and I don't do politics.
Yeah. So we should probably get him to elaborate on that at some point, if we ever could.
We should get him on our show.
Yeah, all 100. Yeah. We're very grateful for every subscriber we have, by the way.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, but yeah, he's not. We're not going to be getting anybody big for a long time. We're just us. So
That's what she said.
yeah. Anyway, so I just want to, because you could miss that. You could miss that. I just thought that was a little telling and quite weird. Maybe not telling, because I don't know exactly what it means. But it is weird.
Though.
It is weird. Tell me what you think in the chat, if there's anybody still in the chat. Because I'm raising an eyebrow, but I'm not 100% sure what it means.
And my job is not the forever. My job is to get you absolutely everything that we can give you. And that's what we're going to do.
When did you become aware of this video that showed that no one had gone in and out of the cell?
Rate your YouTube ads experience. Please rate your ad experience on YouTube recently. Awful. Absolutely
Recently.
dismal.
So why was it recent, though? I mean, if this death was... How long ago was this death? 2 years?
Couple.
2019?
2019.
Oh, really? Why? Time flies. So, 6 years.
Well, again, that's part of what I'm going to try to answer for you.
Jeffrey Epstein jail CCTV erased by technical errors. Whoopsies.
Yeah.
But you see how anybody on the outside, I mean, this is like a perfect storm.
Yeah.
For some. Can you pull that article up so we can read what it says, Jamie? U.S. prosecutor said the jail mistakenly saved footage from the wrong cell. Sorry. Epstein, a convicted sex offender, first tried to kill himself in July last year and hanged himself in jail.
Hang on.
Yep.
Reread that line.
That he first tried to kill himself in July of last year. Yeah.
How much of the American public do you think knows that?
I didn't know that until...
I remember that. I also remember people didn't think it was a suicide the first time either, and they moved him to try to protect him, if memory serves me right. In fact, the whole reason I think that this case has stayed on the public consciousness for so long is because there was a lot of buildup before he finally killed himself. And granted, this was 2018, 2019, this was years ago, but if memory serves me correct, he killed himself he tried to kill himself the first time, supposedly. And people were like, that's not what really happened, and they're moving him to protect him. That or he killed himself because he was scared of getting killed, one of the two. And so everybody was waiting for this guy to die for like a week until he finally did.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So I think one of the go-to theories was that there were several attempts and they finally got him. If my camera could quit auto-zooming. Anyway.
Oh, sorry, I moved.
No, I moved and it's me. It's me. So anyway.
I was doing that zooming thing again.
Yeah, the one that we tried to turn off for 20 minutes. Yeah.
It's the witches who are after us.
Or the Fed. Who cares? I don't know.
The Fed witches.
The Fed witches. There are federal witches, Trevor. What are we going to do? Anyway,
hide in our beds and hope they don't hit us
yeah. Anyway, so
with paper sheets.
if remember, yeah. How did he hang himself? We haven't got to the paper sheets thing yet, have we?
No.
Anyway, I don't think we are. But I just wanted to point out, if memory serves, there was a lot of build up to till right before this guy died. It was like a week of waiting for this dude to croak, and he finally did. And people suspected the first suicide attempt was a murder too, or a murder attempt as well. So just food for thought, because I remember I was still watching Louder with Crowder at the time, and everybody was like, we're all just talking about it. We're all just waiting for this guy to die, and then he does. So anyway, it was assumed from the beginning that he was going to get killed. Whether that's an argument for or against it actually being a suicide, I don't know. But that's the way I remember the situation.
And we're still waiting.
Oh, yeah, he might be. yeah. What if he's still alive, guys? What if he got snuck out of there? And the reason the autopsy report's so weird is because it wasn't the same guy. But that's too nuts. That's too, because the CIA's never done anything like that before. That's just crazy.
Where did Hitler move to? New Zealand?
Oh yeah, that's right. Argentina, but yeah.
Argentina?
Yeah. Hitler totally killed him. Like, he killed himself, guys. Hitler totally killed himself. Absolutely.
Right now.
There you go.
Maybe I heard it and forgot. Did you ever hear it, Jamie?
Well, that's why he's on suicide watch, I think.
Oh, okay.
So a guy
hanged himself in jail in August while serving trial on federal sex trafficking charge. He pleaded not guilty to abusing dozens of girls, some as young as 14. Yeah. Soon after Epstein's death in August, two of the CCTV cameras outside his cell had malfunctioned and were being examined by the FBI. Found semi-conscious in his prison cell with injuries on his neck. On 25 of July, after this incident, he's placed on suicide watch.
I'm not saying every single camera in the place was working. I'm saying we've got footage and you're getting it. Mm-hmm. And then you can make...
Are we getting it? Or are we getting a clip? Or are we getting what you're allowed to show us? Which one is it, Cash?
We're getting our own nomenclature at this point.
It's not what that word means, but I understand what you're trying to say.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I messed it up.
It's okay. I shouldn't throw that word around so much. I probably misused it half the times, too.
I don't even know what it means anymore.
It means, like, the rhetoric, the way people speak.
Oh.
It's like the kind of terminology they use. So, anyway.
Make up your own mind. And the theories can continue. But my job
So you became aware of this footage recently?
The ones that we're looking at, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, but this is like an article from quite a while ago that was saying that the footage was mistakenly erased.
Look, I mean, it goes back to the same, ask the people that were in power then. I mean, I get it that.
So yeah, maybe the fact that it was all turned off, that was the misinformation, Trevor. And I don't know anything about it. Again, I just want to stress that I don't believe for a second he didn't know about any of this. That is just like a bald-faced lie. I've watched this guy for years. I don't believe for a second he didn't know about that camera footage. And I'm pretty sure if I had 5 or 6 hours, I could find him mentioning that footage. Anyway. All right, we're beating a dead horse here. This whole thing is just a giant lie. And it's a PR campaign that blew up in front of his face. So let's see if we can find the moment where Elon Musk sends the fateful tweet. The tweet heard around the world.
Chirp, chirp, motherlickers.
Yeah, chirp, chirp. Let's see. Is this it? Is it that close to the end? All right, let's do this.
This hotel is the best decision I have ever made. What about you?
Hey, another ad.
Second best.
Is that the Hilton?
And another ad.
Oh, I want to see this.
So we can get copyrighted with some stupid background music. Thanks.
I want to watch.
We were talking about fake news.
This is the clip. All right, here we go. This is Providence at work. Just marinate in it.
This is going to come up because it's been going on since we've been recording here. Elon and Trump seem to be in a bit of a spat, Joe. You want to check the tweet that Elon just put out a little bit ago?
Time to drop the really big bomb. Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. That's the real reason they have not been made public. Have a nice day. Jesus Christ.
I'm not participating in any of that conversation
What is
between
he?
Elon
Have
and
a
Trump.
nice day, DJD. Someone should take his phone away.
They're going back and forth about different things. And
Yeah. Listen,
Well, he said he was disappointed in Elon.
yeah, they told him to leave.
Jesus Christ, that's a crazy thing to say. How does he know? Does he know that Donald Trump is in the Epstein files? Or does he have access to the Epstein files?
I don't know how
He
he
does.
would, but I'm just staying out of the Trump Elon thing. That's way outside
What
my
the
lane.
fuck are they doing?
In other words, oh crap, oh crap, oh crap, oh crap, oh crap. So,
I
yeah.
gotta go. Listen to this podcast.
Yeah, I gotta go. I gotta go, guys. I'm staying out of it. I don't know nothing. All right, I know nothing. I knows nothing. Anyway.
You know nothing, Jon Snow.
So, I appreciate an ironic twist of the knife because this interview was infuriating. So
I'll bet.
Yeah. So, okay. That's all I've got for this. We're going to keep an eye on the Epstein thing. I ain't letting it go. This is something that's been on.
Let it go, let it go.
Right? Don't sing that. We'll get copyright.
Oh.
You're so off key. We're probably fine, though. Anyway.
That's the point.
So, I know it's kind of bleeding into politics, but I just want to end with this. It's like, you got to understand, with this Epstein thing, this was the conspiracy theory that got me mad enough to quit watching Alex Jones. I started watching Jones in the 20-teens because
Is that what's wrong with you?
Yes, probably. Because I was doing research for a book. I basically wanted to mesh monsters and conspiracy theories together, right? And so I didn't know what the conspiracy theories were, so I started watching Jones. And I kept watching Jones, didn't believe him, but I thought it was funny. And I kept watching Jones until this story came up, the PDF file island specifically.
Yeah.
And the thought that kind of, if memory serves me correctly, the thought that kind of went through my head was there is no way that somebody could buy an entire island devoted to that kind of behavior. And the fact that somebody would even make that up is kind of messed up. And I got kind of mad at Jones. I basically judged Jones when I shouldn't have, and I quit watching him. And I didn't watch him again until Epstein got arrested. And then the whole thing came out. And I heard about the island specifically. So I've kind of felt bad about judging Jones all this time. For all those years, I guess. Because I've been a fan of him ever since, because he was obviously right. But the reason we're talking about it is 30 years ago, this was the main, or not 30 years ago, good night, a decade ago. This was one of the main conspiracy theories. This and the vaccine thing. And they were both right.
How about that?
Yeah. And so we're going to keep talking about it, even if it is on the news, because this was a conspiracy theory a decade ago. And people need to remember that. People were mocked for saying this.
They still are.
People like me judged Alex Jones and quit watching him for saying this. So that should be remembered. That once upon a time, your government told you this wasn't happening while they were funding it.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah. So that's why we're not going to let it go. Or at least I'm not going to let it go, even if it becomes pedantic after a while. I'm sure it will.
The truth will set you free.
There's only so much yelling I can do.
No, I know how much yelling you can do.
We'll see.
And I like it.
Oh, well, thank you. All right, well, we're going to wrap it up with this one. So
with wrapping paper.
This is a clip that we got is JRE Clips, and it's titled Kash Patel Tells Joe That Epstein Killed Himself. So if you want to finish watching the rest of it, go ahead and do so. If you are on the live stream, stay with us. We'll be moving on to part 3. If you are watching this after the fact, guys, thank you so much for watching, and we will see you in the next one.
Thank you.
All right, good sir. So you're probably gonna have to carry the rest of the show because I probably burned myself out. So.
Welcome to part 3, where we talk about what was it? I wrote it down somewhere.
Benny Hinns slapped a dude, or his security assaulted a YouTuber or whatever, and it was kind of a clickbaity title, but it kept popping up until I finally was like, fine, we'll talk about it, because we talked about Benny Hinn before. But it was the video in question is really more about prosperity gospel stuff.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Yeah. So, do you want to lead us in, good sir?
Yeah. Ready?
Yep.
Welcome to. Let me try that again.
Go for it.
Welcome to Faith Fiction and Folklore, or the Triumph podcast, where we try not to F it up. And today on our channel, we are going to talk about. Gary, what was we going to talk about?
We're going to talk about Benny Hinn and his security. May or may not have assaulted a YouTuber. And
Yes,
it was a video that Russell and KD pushed, but it wound up not really being so much about Benny Hinn as it was about prosperity gospel guys and this dude antagonizing prosperity preachers. And I guess we'll talk about the prosperity stuff if we don't stay on the Benny Hinn stuff. But we're going to look at the Benny Hinn stuff specifically and see exactly what happened here. If you will indulge me for a minute, I got to find the right spot. We did not select the correct timestamp for this one, although I've been trying.
Oh, my bad.
I've been trying. No, I had to do it, and I forgot to do it. I've been trying to find the correct timestamps for everything before we even begin the show, and I have been pretty bad.
Our show's been
about that.
getting later and later. We've been busier and busier.
Yeah, because I keep trying to find the timestamps. That's what's taking so long, and the fact that I'm getting up later. Anyway, so because I'm a bat. Anyway, so we'll let this stupid ad play through.
I'm a bat. You gotta let me fly.
I know that reference. See, if I'd had more time, though, I would have had that picture of South Park with Randy Marsh in his underwear, only I would have put Benny Hinn's picture over the top of Randy Marsh's face and had him saying, I thought this was America.
Oh, we gotta do that.
Yeah, maybe. All right, so here we go.
That's Benny Hinn.
Amen. You may be seated.
Benny Hinn is a false prophet.
Enough is enough, brother. Enough is enough. Enough is enough.
I'm peaceful. I'm peaceful. You're
Yeah.
Bro.
Help the dear man out. It's all right. No problem. It's all right, brother. Calm down.
Well, I was getting the George Floyd treatment, fighting for each breath.
I was going to say, don't tase me, bro, but I guess that's more topical. But anyway.
Tase away.
Let's see what's left on this.
My cameraman ran for his life to avoid a similar fate.
So we're going to get into the scriptures. Can we do that now?
Only to get captured and beaten with
Oh
his
my
own
gosh.
camera.
I was hit twice.
They hit him with a golf cart.
Ow.
Dude, he's out of the building. Why are you being so vindictive? Goodness.
Bro. So he was just trying to expose him.
That was
got beat up for it.
That was like prosperity preaching Grand Theft Auto. That was amazing.
I want to watch that again.
I was hit twice with a golf cart, assaulted by a person here.
Hey, at least you're smiling. Let's watch that again for the replay, boys and girls.
I have a camera, and I'm getting assaulted at church.
Let's marinate in that for a minute. You're right. I was assaulted at church by the staff.
I keep telling people I don't go to church because some of those people are very mean.
Apparently they'll hit you with a golf cart.
And
Oh
your own
my
camera.
goodness. And your what?
And your own camera.
And your own camera, yeah. Oh, wow. All right, let's for the replay.
It's all right, brother. Calm down.
While I was getting the George Floyd
Calm
treatment,
down, just
fighting
calm
for each
down.
breath, my cameraman ran for his life to avoid a similar fate.
So we're going to get into the scriptures. Can we do that now?
Only to get captured and beaten with his own camera.
I was hit twice. I was hit twice with a golf cart, assaulted by a person here. Then he tackled me and threw me into the middle of a active road. And after that, they keep beating my head. And then they grabbed my camera and they were trying to delete the footage. Actively.
I just got hog-tied, body slammed and tackled. Pasha went running, and apparently they clipped him with a golf cart and proceeded to beat his head in and delete the footage. So things are not looking good. We are headed to the hospital right now where he is. Gonna make sure he's alive. Apparently they deleted all the footage from the camera, so it's gone. I've been trespassed. I'm headed to the hospital, making sure Pasha's alive. In an ironic twist of fate, the church themselves beat the shit out of us. From what it sounds like, beat the shit out of Pasha. So we're gonna check in.
I think he's fine, but dude, yeah, I think that qualifies as assault. Why isn't that the article? It's like, oh, Benny Hinns security hit a YouTuber. No, they hit him with a golf cart.
I should totally press charges.
Holy crap.
Wow.
Huh.
We don't want you to expose our lies.
Benny Hinn gets called a false prophet like 3 times a week. Why? That's a little extreme. I'm sure that's like a fairly normal occurrence.
Like, I understand them.
Goodness.
I understand them taking down like dude running up there. That's for safety reasons.
Yeah, but
chasing after the camera guy and running him down with a golf cart. You know what that reminds me of?
What?
Dude from Game of Thrones, when he runs down the boy, Arya Stark's friend.
Oh, yeah.
That's crazy.
Cody says, ha ha ha. That's what happens when you disrupt a cult, dummies.
Yeah, I agree.
Apparently golf carts just have apparently cultists have golf carts on retainer. So they're just sitting waiting in the wings. Like, good night. I understand getting the guy off the stage, but once they run out of the building, shouldn't you just lock the doors and call it good?
Yeah.
Holy moly.
From the place, and then boom. Look, poking a wasp's nest. Yep.
A prosperity wasp nest. Okay. Anyway. Wow.
Yeah.
Hey, the guy took it in good spirits, though. He's like, hey, you got me. You beat me with my camera. I had it coming.
Yeah.
But, I mean, yeah, you should totally call the cops. What do you think? Is that better or worse than don't tase me, bro? I'm not sure. That's kind of close. I mean, how many times did the other guy get tased? This dude got hit with a golf cart twice. I mean, that's just...
Well, I think you just said they tried to tase him.
I don't remember.
Or he thought they were going to tase him. I don't know.
I don't remember. Either way, like, you could probably break a leg or something with that.
You could kill someone with a golf cart.
You think so? I don't know if you could kill him. You could give him a bad day, I suppose. But
mess him up, at least.
Yeah. That is horrible and yet so funny. So, okay, let's finish this up. I'm actually a little curious as to how this ends.
Yeah.
Was video evidence. They deleted the first one. They could not touch the second one.
How are you telling them what happened next? What did they do? They ran
me over with a golf cart twice. I'm going to die today. He threw me in the middle of the active roadway in front of a semi-truck.
He said you're going to die today? Wow. How Christian. Are you sure they didn't hire like some sort of CIA like ops security team? It's like some jaded.
This is why a lot of people
I don't know.
go
I'm gonna
to
just let it go.
churches, because they are afraid that this type of stuff is going to happen, or it actually does happen to them.
I've had a lot of horrible anxiety-driven scenarios when I think about going to church. I have never once imagined I would be hit by a golf cart.
Right?
That's like a little out of left field. Not gonna lie.
Just by hanging out with a camera.
Huh. Well, it wasn't hanging out. They were disrupting. They needed to get kicked out of the service.
The cameraman was
the golf cart thing
he
was
just
a little
recording, and then another dude randomly ran up there, and the cameraman followed the corruption or the eruption out the door. He could have just been one of Benny Hinns' cameramen, for all we know.
I don't know, man. It's like the Trunchable with a pot belly. Anyway.
It's a good movie.
It's like, some YouTubers are gonna die today. So, anyway, let's see what else here.
An asshole. Like 4 or 5 people on top of me.
Yeah.
Beating on my head, ankles, knees. They snag the camera out. They hit my head with the camera.
Shout out the son of Bishop Dan Willis, off-duty cop Chad Willis, for throwing me around like a ragdoll with his goon squad and giving me the George Floyd chokedown. And shout out this bald security schmuck for trying to murder Pasha with a golf cart. This video is by no means meant to be an attack on...
Well, to be fair, he did have to get you off the stage. But the golf cart thing is completely unacceptable. That's just nuts. Wow. Just lock the doors, guys. All right, let's see here.
Faith, but rather a demand for accountability to those who distort the word of the Bible, predate on the biblically illiterate, desperate, naive, and poor to make themselves wealthy. And in the words of Matthew 7:15, beware.
We've watched the grass video.
Yeah, I tried to show it to you.
Yeah, we've done a reaction to the grass video. That was nuts.
Of the false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly are ravenous wolves.
What they do is scriptural macaroni. So they'll grab a verse here, and a verse here, and throw those all together and be like, see, if we make that soup, that's who I am. So for example,
Well, to be fair, that like describes 90% of church denominations, but okay. Maybe not 90, 80, 70, most.
Genesis 2, it says, we shall make them in the image of God, so the creation of us. Big issue that we have there is that they leave out likeness.
Not exact replica, one for one.
We're not like a clone or anything. Okay. We are like God. We have the image of God.
It's so clear if you just read it for yourself, without somebody else twisting it, without somebody just cherry picking one little verse out of its context and holding it against you, and realize that, hey, they've been lying to me the whole time.
God, he is big enough and more than capable of...
I always think back to it's a shame for man to have long hair. Like it's a mortal sin. It's a mortal sin if you have long hair. And when I was a kid, having a beard was like having long hair. That's how strict they were to find it. Oh yeah, it was like fire and brimstone if you had a beard. Never mind Samson having like long hair though. Like we don't talk about that.
We don't talk about Samson.
When I was at College of the Ozarks, they sat us in the first day at orientation, and they were trying to justify this whole not having long hair thing religiously, which it's their school. They could do whatever they want. You know, if they want to present this particular image or whatever and have everybody be all trimmed and whatnot, that's their right. They can do that. Don't hide behind religion, though. Anyway, the dean was like, it is a sin for men to have long hair or something. Did he say that? I don't know if he called it a sin, but the line that I remember the most is he was like, and some people say that Jesus had long hair. Well, we don't know that. That was literally his response. We don't know that.
And then they go into the line of it's a respectable thing to not have long hair, to be clean cut.
Yeah, well, it's respectful, but it's not a moral rule. And they always try to make it into a moral rule based on one verse without having any understanding of the culture or the time or what that actually meant. Or, just knowing the definition of the word shame, but whatever.
Yeah, that was the point I was trying to make, because if you come back at them and talk about Samson or, other Bible people, then they go into, well, it's just respectable.
Oh yeah, well the default that's the I'm beat, but I'm not gonna admit it. But technically respect is a biblical virtue. I'm like, oh, which commandment?
Thou shalt respect the
Was
Lord thy
Paul?
God.
Well, let me ask you something. Was Paul being respectful when he said, "I wish the circumcision crowd would just finish the job and emasculate themselves altogether"? Does that fall in the respectful camp? I'm confused.
Where does he say that?
I don't remember. I'd have to let me look it up. Because if you don't believe me, that's a good point. If you don't believe me, I should probably pull it up. So give me just a minute.
Because that is a big deal to a lot of people.
Being respectful?
No, the whole circumcision thing.
just a minute. I'm still...
Because if I sit here and say, it's up to the parent whether or not they want to circumcise their kid. What about your religious views? I don't know where in the Bible it talks about it, but I have to look it up.
All right. Let's find the King James.
But it started with Abraham and God. And then Paul talked about it later.
Probably better. Sorry, say that again, Trevor. I want to get the full context here.
Paul talked about it later. And I don't know where it's at. But Gary's looking for it.
Oh, well, the verse in question is Galatians 5:12. I have the NIV up. I don't like the other versions. I want to go to King James here in a minute. But let's just start with 11. Brothers and sisters, if I am still preaching circumcision, why am I still being persecuted? In that case, the offense of the cross has been abolished. As for those agitators, I wish they would go the whole way and emasculate themselves.
Jeez.
And just for King James, I think it's a little more ambiguous in the King James, but let's pull it up. Let's see. No, wait, Yep, this is King James. The AI just omitted the last part of the... Oh, wait, no, it was Bible Hub. Whenever I just pulled up the verse itself, they only quoted part of the verse because they didn't want to say the rest of it. Bible Gateway, you commies. All right. Filthy communists, come on. Good night. Here's the King James version. Brothers and sisters. Let me do it again. Okay, wait, no, I'm wrong. Sorry, NIV. My bad. I just didn't click on... I didn't click on the refresh enough. I thought I had, but apparently I hadn't. Anyway, here's King James. And I, brethren, if I yet preach circumcision, why do I yet suffer persecution? Then the offense of the cross ceased. I would they were even cut off, which trouble you. You know what he means.
No, thank you.
In other words, actually, that's a little more crass because they would cut off which trouble you. He's not talking about their gonads. He's not talking about the stones. He's talking about the shaft. So that's a little harsher, actually.
You can probably show him with your cigar there what he means.
I'm shut up. I'm not gonna do that. So, anyway, yeah. Is that respectful, Christians? Is that respectful? I mean, I don't know why I'm referring to them as another group. I'm a Christian, but still, is that respectful? Ye traditional churchman, let's put it that way.
Ye olden traditional.
Ye olden church traditionalist. Anyway, so yeah, but it's a shame for me. So yeah, to my point in even bringing all that up is there. Again, I don't believe in the prosperity gospel. I don't agree with the prosperity gospel. But if we're gonna cast stones here, come on, most churches do that. They pick and choose and misread. Every one of them does that with something. Every one of them. And so let's not pretend like this is a unique phenomenon to the prosperity gospel people.
It's like, pay us well, and we'll teach you parts of the Bible that we want to teach you.
I'll tell you one thing that's definitely not respectful, though. Hitting somebody with a golf cart. That borders on being a little disrespectful, I'd say.
I'd say it tickles.
Yeah, it tickles. It tickles. There we go.
That poor guy, though. I'll send up a prayer for him.
I think he's fine. He was laughing about it. He's like, dude, I got hit with a golf cart. I'm like,
but he could make some money if he presses the right charges.
He could be like, was it Lucky from King of the Hill? Slipped on some PP and got $50,000. So,
Heck yeah. You could probably get more than that.
He could probably get a lot more than that, yeah.
Especially if he gets his insurance involved.
Oh, yeah. That was wild. I want to watch the rest of that video, so let me... we're not going to...
Oh, you don't want to watch more?
We're at the 30-minute mark. This was about Benny Hinn, not the whole prosperity thing. So if you want to watch the rest of the... I expose the most corrupt churches in America. That's the title of the video. And the channel is Tyler Oliveira. I apologize for making your name sound like that. TYLERALIVEIRA. So, Tyler Oliveira. That's what I'm going to say. Oliveira. If you want to go to his channel, go to his channel and watch that video. And we're going to move on. Yeah, we're going to move on to part 4. So, if you're on the live stream, keep watching. If you're watching this after the fact, guys, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye.
Okay.
That was fun.
I was not expecting the golf cart thing.
No,
that took me by surprise.
Mm-hmm. That had to hurt.
That took me by surprise. So I was expecting somebody to get like delicately slapped, and then for him to go, "Oh, he's assaulted me. I'm being assaulted. He's assaulted me." I was not expecting him to actually get run over.
Yeah.
I felt like that was a bit of a dramatic escalation. That did not go the way I thought it would. So, anyway.
That had to hurt.
Nor was I expecting the trunchable security guard. This is the day you die. This is the day you die. Right. It's like, I just called him a false prophet. Good night. Chill. It's like half the Christians on YouTube are throwing that at each other on a regular basis.
Right.
That and the word
false.
Heretic.
No, you're false. No,
you're a false prophet. No, you're a false prophet. No, you're a false prophet. Anyway, it's like we're all wrong, and we all know the Almighty's going to tell us we're all wrong. Like
we love each other, but you're a false prophet.
I would be floored if God said what South Park had one of the demons say in hell. I'm sorry. The correct answer was Methodist. Methodist. I would be shocked if that actually ends up happening. So
don't they believe that you can marry as many women as you want?
That would be the old school Mormons.
Oh, Mormons. I'm sorry. The M's get me mixed up.
Some might say that that would be even more shocking, but we won't go there. So, anyway. All right. Let's move on to the next one.
The M&M Christians.
I don't know. The M&M Christians.
Methodist and Mormons.
Oh, Methodist and Mormons, yeah. If it starts with the letter M, you had the correct answer. Sorry to everybody else. Anyway.
What's our fourth subject?
Our fourth subject is the Highgate Vampire. We're going to go into it.
Heck
yeah. Okay, well, let's jump in. So you want to lead us in, sir?
All right. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Welcome to Faith, Fiction, and Folklore, or the Try podcast, where we try our best not to F it up. And today I've got Gary with me. How are you, Gary?
After that golf cart video, I'm actually feeling quite better. So
what golf cart video?
The previous video where the dude got hit by a golf cart. You know what I'm talking. You know what I'm talking about.
A week ago.
That was like 2 minutes ago.
This is the next video.
Stop it. Stop it. Stop it.
Well, this one we're going to talk about the Highgate Vampire and Bishop Sean Manchester.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Did I get that right?
That's right. Sean Manchester. He is the man who supposedly killed the said vampire. Took a couple tries. This is a longer story. We may have to do more listening than we probably do. I'm going to try not to commentate too much, but you do have to hear the story. It is quite impressive. But before we get into that, let's do a brief overview about the situation with the Highgate Vampire. I would like to do a lot of videos on this, or at least 2 or 3, because there's a lot of individual anecdotal accounts. There's a lot of things that are glossed over. in this particular. It's the one I did last time, the Slapped Ham documentary, right? So there's a lot more detail, but it does get kind of the core players right. So we're gonna go through this as fast as we can, just to kind of give a 3,000-foot view as to what happened, and then we're going to listen. Then we're going to listen to Sean Manchester's interview. So, all right.
This one's Sean Manchester talking about his.
No, this is the Slapped Ham.
experience.
Well, the interview is about him talking about his experience. This is the Slapped Ham abbreviated version of the entire situation, because it was it was a long-standing thing that lasted for years.
I was looking at the wrong screen. That's my bad.
Oh, no, you're good. All right, so let's start with this. Slapped Ham, the Highgate, or the YouTube channel is Slapped Ham Mysteries, the Highgate Vampire. What are you doing? Why is it not clicking? Hang on a minute. We're having technical difficulties.
Clickbait.
We'll just refresh. Oh, it wants to play an ad. We'll mute you, sir. Kiss my booty. I resent that, man. You made me replay that just so you could put out another ad.
You're welcome.
What a load of garbage. YouTube, I can't wait till Rumble beats you.
Speaking of Slapped Ham, it's a question for our audience. I actually like Slapped Ham. I like watching this video. Do you guys, as our audience, want us to react to a full Slapped Ham video?
Yes or no?
Yes
if somebody
or no.
ever deems to answer. And you can also answer in the comments section.
Separating fact from folklore. In the shadow of the bustling city of London, a sinister tale of the supernatural has captivated and terrorized its citizens for over half a century. Among the moss-covered tombstones and Gothic monuments of Highgate Cemetery, an eerie figure is said to lurk, its hypnotic red eyes waiting to ensnare unsuspecting victims.
So the first thing I got to correct is it's not there anymore. They got rid of it. So there is no said to lurk. In the 70s, it lurked. That would be the correct way to put that. So, anyway.
This chilling apparition, known as the Highgate Vampire, has become one of the most fascinating and controversial urban legends of modern times. But what is the truth behind this blood-curdling story? And how did it evolve from whispered rumors into a full-fledged supernatural saga? The first documented accounts of the Highgate Vampire date back to the late 1960s, when reports of supernatural occurrences began to circulate in the local media. However, even before the vampire sightings, strange events were already taking place in the area. In 1967, two teenage girls walking home alone Swains Lane near Highgate Cemetery reported witnessing a chilling sight. The dead rising from their graves near the cemetery's north gate. In another instance, a young woman...
No. I don't think that's right. Maybe I'm wrong about Slapped Ham. I think they're getting a lot of details wrong here.
Yeah, this is a Slapped Ham's different channel.
Yeah, well, from what I understand, those two girls saw the vampire itself. They didn't see the dead rising from the grave. If I remember correctly, and if it wasn't the little girls, it was somebody else, but the main apparition around the cemetery was a tall black man, like a traditional shadow figure, like what we've talked about before, and it had red eyes. So that kind of thing was walking around. If I remember correctly. Yeah, if I remember correctly. Because it was a single entity, as it were. So it was this shadow figure of red eyes. That was kind of the main thing. So...
woman claimed to have been awakened one night by a cold and clinging sensation on her hand, only to find prominent marks there the following morning. Reports also circulated about a tall man in a hat who was seen wandering the area before seemingly melting through the cemetery walls. By the early months of 1970, the situation surrounded...
Yes, sir.
I gotta take a quick break. I'll be right back.
Go for it.
Surrounding Highgate Cemetery took a darker turn. Several animals were discovered dead in the vicinity, their bodies drained of blood and bearing what appeared to be lacerations on their throats. These gruesome findings fueled speculation that a malevolent supernatural entity, possibly the Highgate Vampire, was responsible for the grisly attacks. Witnesses described unsettling encounters with a tall, dark figure with glowing red eyes lurking amongst the tombstones of Highgate Cemetery. As the story spread, they fueled the imaginations of paranormal investigators and thrill seekers who flocked to the cemetery in the hopes of catching a glimpse of the mysterious apparition. Enter David Farrant and Sean Manchester. In 1970, two charismatic
Cody Bocephus says, a tall black man, you're so racist, Gary. Hey, you're the one that made the inference. Those are your words, buddy.
and self-proclaimed vampire hunters, David Farrant and Sean Manchester, entered the scene, each claiming to have the knowledge and expertise to banish the malevolent being from Highgate Cemetery. Farrant, the founder of the British Psychic and Occult Society, and Manchester, the bishop of the Old Catholic Church, became entwined in a bitter rivalry that would come to define the Highgate Vampire legend. Farrant was the first to claim that he had seen the vampire while conducting a paranormal investigation in the cemetery. He described it as a tall, dark figure with hypnotic, glowing eyes. Manchester soon followed suit, alleging that the creature was a medieval nobleman named Walthuff who had dabbled in the dark arts and was buried at Highgate after his execution.
Just for the record, that's not what Manchester says exactly. Maybe he said something different at the time, but I don't know if he actually describes who the guy was in the interview. The story is different, I think. So I don't remember any mention of a nobleman, but what he says happens, in case we don't get there, is basically a cult was like shipping a body around. So they were you had basically a satanic cult that was moving they basically rose up a body, and they were like conjuring up a body, as it were. And so they had a body in a casket, and they were moving the body around the cemetery. So I don't know if he ever actually described the origins of that said body, though. And so if Manchester said that, the odds are it's probably something he theorized towards the beginning of the event, before everything actually kind of like ended. But anyway.
It's on tape, buddy.
Cody says, your words, buddy. It's on tape. Okay. Well, you're the one that made the connotation with the words, sir. I wasn't even thinking about race. So you're the degenerate, not me. Ha ha ha.
Degeneration.
I'm going to send angry tweets about you and then not respond to your phone calls.
The tension surrounding the Highgate Vampire reached a fever pitch.
What?
That's mean.
I know. It's almost like a high school girl.
In the lead up to Friday the 13th of March 1970.
Ooh,
Both
Friday the
Farrant
13th.
and Manchester had made bold claims of an imminent showdown with the vampire, and their sensational statements had spread like wildfire through the local community and media.
So tell me, Stephanie, why popular pens?
Prior to working with
Gosh.
we never, ever got...
Are there getting to be more ads? I feel like there's getting to be more ads.
Every 7 minutes.
Even during is it every 7 minutes now? Like on all the videos?
Some of them. There was a couple of them that I had it every 5 minutes.
Oh, yeah? A couple every 5 minutes, huh?
Like, I timed them. It was like, holy crap.
Dude, I'm going to go back to reading. I am not watching this many commercials. We are not returning to the 90s. It's not happening. I won't do it.
Do it.
Watch our podcast, but, that's just because we want to make money. I'm going back to reading.
You want to make money.
I want to make money. That's.
I don't want to be teaching the prosperity gospel.
Did I say I was going to teach? It's okay. I think I'd look rather good in Benny Hinns' little costume. Got that white jacket, flapping it around, slaying people in the spirit.
I'll be Cody's cameraman as he runs up on stage.
I'll be the pasty Benny Hinn, So, anyway, so Cody sent a heart. Thank you, sir.
Ooh, heart emojis.
TV had aired interviews with both men, as well as others who had reported supernatural encounters in the cemetery. The broadcast only served to heighten the anticipation, and within 2 hours, a mob of hunters from all over London and beyond had swarmed the locked cemetery. As the clock struck midnight, the group, now numbering in the hundreds, broke into the cemetery, igniting the chaos that would come to be known as the Great Vampire Hunt.
Dun, dun, dun.
Eyewitness accounts from that night describe a scene of pandemonium as people trampled graves, damaged monuments, and blindly pursued any sign of the elusive.
I love the self-righteous AI image here. Trevor, can you guess the subtext of that goofy image there?
They look more like zombies than vampires.
Yes, they do. What is the editor or whoever trying to say with this video?
They were zombies and not vampires.
No, he's saying the people were the real monsters.
Oh.
The people or humanity is the real evil.
Well,
because this guy clearly doesn't even believe the claim because he hasn't even paid that much attention to what happened.
Right. Well, that's kind of like.
I regret recommending this video, actually.
That's kind of like what people are doing now with aliens. They're trying to normalize aliens so that when you walk down the street and your neighbor is like, "Hey, I'm an alien," you're not like, "Ah."
I think the proper response would be, then you should be deported.
Not that type of alien. Let's talk about
No, this is some pretentious thing about people being stupid, primitive villagers. It's that dumb narrative. So, but anyway, so I regret showing that, and I double regret showing that twice. That was very stupid of me.
We could do a better
now that
video
I've actually
next
done more research, because it's years since I looked at it last time, and I've done more research since then, and he's getting details wrong, I think. So, after listening to I should be more specific. Research. I listened to this interview all the way through, and I think he's getting details wrong. But anyway, we're gonna listen to the interview now. This is there's
and
two.
Let me clarify. That's not the Slapped Ham that I watch or listen to. I listen to their main channel.
Ah, gotcha. Well, let me clarify here. So there's two. Essentially, what happened? Let's just simplify all the music and hype that we saw. Essentially, what happened was there were sightings of the shadowy figure, since Cody's being a racist, with red eyes. It was a consistent thing, kept up for a long time. And so two figures entered the scene to investigate, David Ferret and Sean Manchester. From what I understand, David Ferret, or Ferrat, or however you say that name, was a bit of a showman. And so this thing got a lot of attention. Whereas Manchester was tied to the Catholic Church. And he was kind of, I don't know exactly what he is, but he was a priest, and he had worked on this kind of stuff.
Was he part of Manchester United?
I have no idea. He was a Catholic priest, and he worked on this stuff on the regular. So he was sent in, and him and Ferret kind of started this rocky partnership.
Was it a ferret war?
I don't know what a ferret war would even be, but
I just made it up, so.
Okay. Anyway, so they had a rocky relationship, right? And so they eventually the news started interviewing these two guys because they were working together. And eventually that came to a head with everybody storming the cemetery, making a big mess. I think they eventually closed Highgate because of that event. But I don't know what happened with Ferret at the end, but Manchester was allowed to keep looking, and he eventually found it, and he found it twice, which is what we're going to hear about. Essentially, he found it the first time. They did an exorcism, worked for a little while, didn't continue working. Then they found the same coffin and the same vampire again, which is why he thinks there were some Satanists or something moving it around, because they found the coffin in another location later on, and that's when they got rid of it for the last time and the sightings stopped. So that's the abbreviated version of the event. This is Sean Manchester's account in his own words.
Yay.
Yay. Let's. Oh my gosh. Hang on. I'm not doing it. Y'all kiss my butt. I'm gonna mute this because I know an ad's coming. Yep. Sure enough. Oh wait, no. I'm wrong. They just. You jerks. I time-stamped it and they just moved it back to where I didn't want it. Oh, you guys could just suck on a lemon.
Lemons are good.
Good night. How obnoxious. Anyway, what a bunch of jerks.
Who?
Tell us
YouTube.
about
Google?
what happened.
Whoever's deciding the ad algorithm on these videos.
Google.
That person. Okay.
As far as you tracking down the Highgate Vampire and destroying it.
As far as I'm concerned, it began for me in the late 60s with people like Elizabeth contacting me. I mean, there were others, and pursuing the matter to its logical conclusion. I had the good fortune at that time to have colleagues who were more trained and seasoned than even I, who were that much older. People like Peter Underwood, who's a renowned author of the paranormal, and he was aware, very much so, that these things existed, and he too wrote of occurrences in Highgate Cemetery in the 1960s. Indeed, it was with him that the early part of the story was first published in his own anthology, The Vampire's Bedside Companion, 10 years before the first edition of my own account, unexpurgated account, that is, the Highgate Vampire. But after the two convent schoolgirls, I spoke to a chap called, I won't give his name.
So those are the two girls that he's referring to from the Slapped Ham video.
But he spoke of a dark shape which moved across the path directly in front of him. On an earlier occasion, he had started to walk home with his fiancée down the lane, running alongside the cemetery. And they saw something standing behind the iron railings of the gate. Upon its face was an expression of basilisk horror. And again, the thing that was behind the gate appeared to dissolve into the shadows of the night. And that was a common description.
Dun, dun, dun.
But what pointed it in the direction of something more than a hideous spectre was this these other experiences. I mean, there was this girl I spoke to later, a teenager in North Hill. Her name is Jacqueline. Her brother vouched also for these experiences. I think he was slightly younger. And she awoke one night with something icy cold clutching her hand, and her hand soon went numb. The next morning revealed deep tears in the flesh where she had forced her hand free. Now I'm taking that directly from her account. And she and her brother also had this fascination, as they described it, which drew them to the nearby Highgate Cemetery, the western side, the infected side, as it would prove to be. And it was only when we discovered the pulsating heart, if you will, of that haunted place that we were able to begin to get an idea of what we were truly dealing with. Although prior to that, the traditional antidotes and repellents, as with Elizabeth, had appeared at least to work. The use of those things which are regarded as effective in repelling evil spirits, vampires amongst them. I mean, the Catholic Encyclopedia itself states quite unequivocally that the Church doesn't deny that, with special permission of God, of course, the souls of the departed may appear to the living and even manifest things unknown to the latter. But we're not talking here of souls of the departed. We're talking of something from another region, something demonic, something which manifests as though it was the dead person. But it's something altogether more evil, masquerading, and what is the part that is beyond belief, the part that defies the imagination, is that there appears to be this ability to animate the corporeal form and almost give it sustenance. I mean, these entities represent a force which is really, any attempt to express it is almost impossible, because you're expressing the unknown and the unknowable, which invites scoffing, cynicism, and disbelief. But such skepticism fails, nevertheless, to ensure the departure of these creatures.
So you're saying that these creatures, they're not the person that died reanimated. It's their body, their own corporal body reanimated, but it's reanimated by some sort of demon.
The agency is demonic. There's no question. There are various points of...
So what do you think? What do you think? You think vampires are the original person in some capacity, or do you think they are demons?
Me personally?
Yeah, you personally.
Vampires, in my personal opinion, are people, and they have a a fascination with drinking human blood. It's an actual thing. And
so, like, when you say people, you don't mean the undead, you mean like people.
People.
All right.
And they go so far into it that they it actually like triggers their brain into thinking that they are actual vampires. And with all the legends and stories and stuff, they create a whole scenario, and it becomes reality to them. And they then start doing things that are not so good.
See, I would just describe those people as Twilight fans.
No. Twilight fans are silly. No. There's groups. There's actual groups, and they have actual get-togethers and actual things, and this is an actual thing. They actually are attracted to drinking human blood.
I'm going to have to show you Bill Schneblin's account of that, because not only was Schneblin a Freemason, which I do believe Bill Schneblin's account, by the way. If you listen to this documentary, if you go on to listen to this interview, you'll hear at least one phrase that Manchester uses that Schneblin also uses with regard to the, I guess you would call it the deep occult. And I don't think these two have met. And one of the things that I look for when I'm trying to evaluate whether or not something's true or false is like, okay, do different people who've probably never met use the same kind of terminology? Do they have a similar experience in terms of like patterns of behavior? You know, like I'm looking for, patterns basically.
Right.
And, I tend to believe Schneblin's account. There's some similarities with how vampirism works in his account. Some with Manchester's account. So, I mean, as for myself, I have no idea. They make for great stories. It would be better if the person was still inside from a storytelling standpoint. But, you know, the thing is, with demons, their whole shtick is to mimic. That's what they do.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't surprise me if it's not,
if
the dude isn't even there at all, and it's just mimicry.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's where I was going with it, was people get into the darker stuff and the occult, and they're already on this bloodthirst, if you will, and they're addicted to it, and then they get into the darker side and they invite demons into their lives, and then it becomes even worse.
Cody, shut up. I don't know what you're talking about. He said,
Almost
"Ha!"
said
You almost
nomenclature.
I did. I'll own it. I'll own it. Yeah, I almost said nomenclature again. Thank you. I need to get
You're
away
welcome.
from that word. I'm burning everybody out on it. So, no, I think
What's
it's
wrong
like
with nomenclature?
I just say it too much. It's part of my nomenclature. Ha ha ha.
So you would say it's part of your nomenclature?
Is that a dad joke?
I don't know. Is it?
I'm going to say yes, and I hate you for it. No. Anyway, no, I'd say if they do exist, it's probably something like satanic cult might be able to reanimate a body or something, and it can walk around or whatever. Or
you're talking about undead?
Yeah, like undead
vampires.
Yeah. Or they do a bunch of ceremonies around a body, and that produces enough energy for the demon to manifest around nearby people, or something to that effect. I don't know, but again, if you're gonna try to study it seriously, and this is what I was ranting about the last time I talked about this, if you're gonna study about it seriously, you have to. If you're gonna take the anecdotal accounts seriously, you got to factor in all the details. You can't just go, oh, well, these are a bunch of stupid villagers who didn't understand that hair and nails grew after death. Yes, they did. They were part of the plagues that were going around at the time. They understood how decomposition works. You guys are just being arrogant because you can turn on a light bulb. Well, I have bad news for you. A monkey can turn on a light bulb. Try inventing a light bulb. So, yeah, I don't think these people were stupid. So, anyway.
Have you, when in your research, did you find the military, the Austrian army story?
The Austrian army story. It's
on,
ringing a bell, but I don't know exactly which one you're referring to.
Hold on.
Because I know the CIA's faked vampire attacks to take over countries.
No. This was the Austrian story from a long time ago.
Panama, actually. No, was it Panama or the Philippines? I can't remember which, but the army and I think it might have been the Philippines, but the army faked vampirism to scare the militia in some place like that.
Yeah, maybe we can do it next week on this, or extend it to you now. But it's 18th century Austrian army, and it's the first account that I could find of people, villagers, going up against their type of vampire in their culture at the time.
Well, that might be interesting. Yeah.
And I also found just one story of Jacques Saint Germain, and this one is the most recent story I could find. And the CW network did a whole documentary on this guy. And
so what year did it take place?
This, let's see, Jacques Saint Germain that story started in 1904, and people in New Orleans still believe that he walks around New Orleans.
Okay, so it's still like a current thing, supposedly. Okay.
And so this lady from the CW network went in to try and figure out if it's real or not. And Jennifer Marshall is the lady investigator from the CW network. We could talk about that. She concluded that possibly the original Saint Germain trained kids, like people, other boys, to act just like him. And that's how he was able to keep the legend going.
So she didn't believe it. She tried to come up with a naturalistic explanation to account for all the facts or whatever. Yeah. Okay, I got it.
Yeah, and in her findings, she actually found like full-on hangout bars of vampires.
Yeah, there's a heavy vampire culture in New Orleans. I know that.
Yeah,
so,
it's crazy.
Yeah.
So
but that's just silly people,
I thought we could go over that.
We can if
later.
you want. We can if you want,
later in another video.
Maybe next week. Next week I want to go over David Furrett's version of the same event and kind of compare the two stories. I think that'd be interesting. And then we could do that, what you're talking about, and the Australian thing. And then we've got the SSRI book I'm going to try to get done.
Okay.
So, Cody says, parasites or vampires? It's all the code to life in story form.
It's the purple.
It's the purple. So, yeah. People have no idea what we're talking about when we do that anymore. It's like we finished talking about Ammon Hillman weeks ago. We're still going, it's the purple.
Yeah, no, I was editing one of those videos earlier, and I was like, this guy's ridiculous.
Oh, yeah.
Or no, I was reading the comments. That's right.
His fan base that is like just all sorts of mad.
Right.
And we make fun of that guy. Anyway. Okay, let's go on. I want to try to get through his account, if nothing else, particularly when they killed it. So I want to see if I can find that.
They killed it? I thought you couldn't kill vampires.
Yeah, they killed it.
There's different ways to kill a vampire.
Being cagey about the... Let's go past publicity seekers and see if we can get...
The best way to take out a vampire is a machete and behead them.
Okay. I'll take your word for it. I've never met one. I wouldn't know.
You don't know what show I'm referring to.
Nope. Is that Supernatural?
Yep.
If we ever do another fiction segment, we'll have to review that show. I can't stand that show. So anyway,
I love that show.
I know you do.
So we could go on and on and on and on and on.
All right.
Because there is 15 seasons.
Cody says Crow777 has had a Saint Germain on his podcast several times. He's very mysterious, knows a lot of stuff. Seems like he could be a few hundred years old, LOL. That is the beauty of the internet. So, make you seem older than you are. Anyway, yeah, that is interesting. Saint Germain. I have to look into that. Okay, I'm trying to skip ahead, but I can't find a good spot, so we're just going to keep going.
And there has been for centuries. I mean, even the James, King James, who obviously wrote his work on demonology in Latin, of course, and was himself something of a witch finder. He believed it was entirely a demonic agency at work, and only that, masquerading as the dead. There are others who believe that it's a combination, that there is something of the personality.
Skip ahead a little. Oh, you...
In fact, I think the only one at the time, the BBC one was later in the year, that really did set the imagination of would-be vampire hunters.
So now he's talking about the night all those people stormed the cemetery.
Yeah.
Alight, and
I can imagine.
the place became besieged with any number of vampire seekers, some of them travelling considerable distances. And that continued for a little while. It included university students, all sorts. Even rock stars, and I think
wow.
I think not too long after that, although he's now deceased, Lord he stood at various elections, representing some mad raving loony party. But Lord David Such, not a real lord, of course, but David Such, who was a contemporaneous, of course. He was a rock singer, quite well known at the time. He tried to get in on the act, as did any number of people. And of course, the graveyard itself although it had been used, I think, on a couple of occasions in the past for in the daytime, always in the daytime, for Hammer horror style films. And in fact, in the
How is it that?
well, it's bound to happen that once something has a profile as high as that on television and in both national and international press, and almost straight away people are referring to it in their sort of ghost anthologies, it's bound to attract all sorts of people. I mean, from the more serious student who...
Okay, we're going to move past the publicity seekers, and this should be where it starts, I think. We'll see.
And the police were in absolutely no doubt that this was the work of, to use their term, black magic devotees. And that had been going on for quite some time. I mean, decades rather than years. But that was rather horrific.
Certainly.
And there was other evidence that was not made public, which were quite clearly pointed it at black magic and necromancy and satanic ritual. The insides of some mausoleums, which of course most people don't venture to enter, betrayed all sorts of evidence which was unequivocal. But what happened after 1970 is that it became virtually impossible for these occultists with motives hidden in the darkness of the absurd to any longer use Highgate as their clandestine meeting place for nocturnal forays. And they obviously had to find somewhere else. And it's reasonably safe to say that the serious ones, the dangerous ones that certainly wouldn't want to advertise what they are doing, they couldn't any longer use that place for their ceremonies involving corpses, and that all came to an end. It was slightly eclipsed by one or two, I suppose, cranks or people who were drunk after the pubs had closed at night, going in there for what they thought was a bit of Halloween fun, and it getting out of hand due to the excess of alcohol. But I dare say that exists in lots of places anyway.
Oh, certainly.
The notoriety of Highgate might have sort of attracted one or two more than you would expect at the time. But that was a short-lived phenomenon, and it was a small price to pay to end Highgate Cemetery being a mecca for serious Satanists.
Right.
And as far as I'm aware, although, of course, there were, I mean, I'm not going...
All right, we're going to skip ahead. I'm hoping that this is where it starts. So, yeah, he's saying Satanists were basically conjuring this thing. And so let's jump ahead again. If we don't get another blasted ad.
Or added
with
blast.
What proved to be, indeed, the Highgate Vampire. And it's only when we discovered in the putrid chamber of that tomb in August 1970 what we did, and looked upon the horrific countenance of what was inside, have to be lowered on a rope.
Go back a little bit.
And it was in those catacombs that we made the discovery originally of a suspect coffin. And no sooner had we done this than that appeared to relocate very nearby, literally within a few feet, to a subterranean vault, which we located through someone else who'd been having visitations, not Elizabeth, somebody else, who, in a trance state, led us to the vampire tomb. And this would have been in August 1970, and there is no question or doubt that, having looked at the names etched outside, that there was one too many coffins, and the one at the rear, which didn't really even resemble the others, it was virtually black, which is unusual in itself, and more of a casket, and completely superfluous to the list of names on the outside. That was the first encounter with what proved to be, indeed, the Highgate Vampire. And it's only when we discovered in the putrid chamber of that tomb in August 1970 what we did, and looked upon the horrific countenance of what was inside, that we had absolute confirmation of what we were dealing with. And I had already gained permission at that point, and that's what we were doing there, from the London Cemetery Company, though at that point it was calling itself the United Cemetery Company. It was a private company which ran the cemetery, as most private companies do, on its own merit. And they said that it would be all right, a spoken exorcism at the mouth of the tomb would be fine. But when we made discovery of this extra casket, we were dealing with rather more than what we had bargained for. And it was quite terrifying, because we were thrown in, I particularly was thrown in at the deep end, and we were confronting something with a few spoken Latin words that in the event would prove ineffective. I mean, I think we used 7 crucifixes, 4 white candles, 4 cups of holy water in the ceremony, carried out by 4 men and a woman, myself being one of the 4 men, on that August afternoon, to banish the spirits of evil, or the evil presence, using the Latin formula. News of the spoken exorcism did indeed bring a sigh of relief to many living in the area, and a good many more considered this to be the final chapter of what had been a terrifying case of 20th century vampirism. Even some of my colleagues thought that this will be an end to it, but anyone believing that the Highgate Vampire had passed into legend in that summer were in for a nasty shock. Those who breathed with relief would find such relief very short-lived, because strange occurrences failed to cease, and more horrifying incidents ended any hope that we'd quietened the disturbance with a mere spoken exorcism rite. Further vampiric outrages were to follow, and I think it's sometime after that. I mean, the cemetery officials did brick up that particular vault, and I don't know whether you have a copy, but in my book there is a photograph of the bricked up vault. It was bricked and cemented, and with a crucifix and holy water remaining inside. But whether or not that was before or after, it didn't remain bricked up for very long. Today it isn't bricked up at all, but of course today everything's quiet at Highgate Cemetery. What did happen was that particular casket was relocated elsewhere, and where it was relocated was not terribly far away. It was on the borders of Highgate, but it was a derelict neo-Gothic mansion, actually, in the subterranean bowel, the cellar of that place. And my own view is that the casket was taken there by these same occultists that perhaps would belong to a vampire cult, who were emissaries, living emissaries to the same evil. And it was there that the final and most effective of all exorcisms that can take place occurred. Without going through all of the detail, we, upon its discovery, dragged the casket from the basement up the stairs into the grounds of the rear of the derelict building, at which time dawn was about to break, starting to send spears of bright illumination on to the macabre spectacle below. And one assistant had by this point quit, but I was left with Arthur, who rushed to fetch my accoutrements and returned with them. And eventually, when the lid was removed and we beheld the same thing that I had seen in August 1970, this was now the early part of 1974, something which had very much remained stained on my memory. Our quarry looked, this time, even more exaggerated, more distorted than I remember it. Far worse than even that time in the Highgate vault. Burning, fierce eyes beneath furrowed brows, staring with almost hellish reflection, yellow at the edges with blood-red centers, unlike anything imaginable.
Wow.
The mouth set in a cruel expression, lips drawn back. It was as if the entire demonic form had not long ended its, if one can describe it as slumber, its slumber. It's difficult to talk in these material terms about something which defies, or appears to defy, human mortality, and it's said to cast no reflection or shadow. One has to be aware of things like antimatter, that's made up of atoms consisting of only antiparticles, unable to exist in the presence of normal matter. We're familiar with three dimensions, before, now, and after. These concepts of normal time, past, present, and future, don't exist in anti-time. This somewhat restricts us when trying to comprehend the world of the vampire, whose conscious energy, such as it is, exists outside of all ties of time. And the corporeal shell, which is occupied, is also transformed. It isn't merely a vehicle. It is, during that supernatural possession, transformed. It can manifest elsewhere and otherwise. It can become what it isn't. It has an unbelievable ability, which once the demonic agency has been removed, it ceases immediately to have. Their nether world is connected as a force to lend supernatural power, and the exorcism mysteriously reverses the process, and the being, that is to say the corporeal shell, returns to earthly time, some with a bang, when the evil contamination is expelled. Of course, the evil, supernatural evil, is removed. It isn't destroyed, but the supernatural condition is destroyed of the afflicted corpse, or what seems to be the afflicted corpse.
Okay, we're going to stop it there. You get the idea. He basically, him and his team basically exorcised the demon a second time after it was relocated. And that put an end to the Highgate Vampire. So, Trevor, what do you think?
That was creepy.
It's creepy. It's creepy. It's quite a odd story.
It's a good story.
Well, I think next week we'll go over David Ferrett's account, see what lines up, what doesn't. I kind of think David Ferrett's more of a showman.
Yeah, the question is, was it real or not?
I think it was real. I think. Wouldn't bet my house on it, but, you know.
Yeah.
So, but, I mean, it's entirely plausible. And he's got some details that make me think he's probably telling the truth. Like, he's trying to explain the functionality of how all this works, even if it seems a little boring over people's heads. And I don't know, sometimes, you know, that can be an indicator of truth-telling, I think. So.
Well, plus you could hear it in his voice. He was starting to get kind of scared in his head, recalling the events.
Yeah. Yeah, you hear him go more and kind of drawing it out more as time goes on. You can hear that anxiety kick up.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, we'll compare stories next week, but I think we're done for tonight. Trevor, do you have any final thoughts, good sir?
Not unless you want me to.
I want you to.
Oh. Yeah, I think as far as this goes, don't get into the occult. First and foremost.
Moral of the story, stay out. Yeah.
Yeah, it will mess you up. But yeah. I don't know.
All right. Well, if you want to watch the interview in its entirety, the YouTube video is called Highgate Vampire, Bishop Sean Manchester. The YouTube channel is called World of the Unexplained. It is World of the Unexplained. So if you are curious about the rest of that interview, go ahead and check that out at your leisure. For us, anyway, we're done. And
D-O-N.
D-O-N-E. So
No, D-U-N.
D-U-N. All right, okay. We'll worry about spelling later. For now, guys, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.